personally don't vote for people based off of like politics, but parties. Well, okay, what did you say specifically? Since you want to since I have
I'm an Anprim. I vote for fucking people that
Jesus,
that are gonna do right by me.
Beyond based. I don't want to hear it. 50.
Look, I'm not really an Anprim.
I agree with chaotic.
Shut up. Let me finish. It's a meme.
The point that I'm making is,
you know,
the Democratic Party.
I vote for low taxes and gun rights. That's pretty much it. And then I do care about social programs.
The Democratic Party and the Republican Party actively funnel money into senators who are going to vote with the party. That's just what the political process is. That's what parties do.
And they fucked up on this one. So that's
that
their
is
own
fault.
We're not okay with that. We're not happy with that. So we're gonna do
if you're
lobbying, right? So you're saying that you should just fucking throw money at fucking parties, and then they're supposed to do everything that you say and be beholden to you.
No, you protest.
Even if it's something stupid, that's ridiculous.
That's happening for your party.
That's the current
system. Dude, I don't
it's almost
vote
like
for
when
party.
you become like
I mean, I voted for a third party last time. Like I vote for third parties.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're getting lost here. We are. Let's pull it back. Oh man. All right. Yeah. Thank you for being here. All right. Let's try to focus. We were talking about politicians making them uncomfortable, and some I guess where we got off ramped was like on Kristen Cinema's specific poll numbers, right? But her poll numbers can be whatever, and still she could be failing a slice of her constituency, right? Mm-hmm. So then that would mean that they would, if they feel that she's not doing what they like, then they would confront her, right? That would happen for anyone. If she was still a Democrat, right? Barely Democrat, but like this had been Republican voters, right? That it would still be valid for them to approach her, even if she is wildly popular, right? Even if everyone loves her, right? Those Republicans who live in her state talking to her about her issues, right, about her policies, would be valid, protesting her, right? So I don't see why we have to focus on these poll numbers one way or the other.
Most conservative protests aren't valid at all because they have no valid concerns.
Okay.
Nice.
They focused on poll numbers for presidential elections all the time. Right.
But that doesn't mean that you would not. That doesn't mean that you would not petition them or protest bad decisions. Like I think the problem with cinema is, it's like again, I'm sure it's been gone over, but 3 years without a town hall. 3 years without a town hall. She left Washington saying that she
That's not true, Jason. We talked about this already.
Okay.
Yeah, she did a town hall on the 21st with her constituents.
Did they pay to get in?
So
because she's been charging people for any kind of audience, like by a substantial amount. It's not cheap to go to one of her events. Like most people can't afford it.
Kate's the one that provided me the source on that. Kate Speaks, who's in here right now. I don't know, Kate, the Irish girl or whatever.
Yeah, if it's cool, like for me to talk, I don't know. I don't want to
go. Just go.
I'm not. What I was gonna say is almost.
Yep, Deep State got her.
Next.
Can
you
guys hear me?
Yeah, you cut off. The IRA. Try it again, please.
Go for it.
Sorry. So I just want to point this out because I do this with all 100 senators. So I'm on every single email list for all 100 senators. 86 of the 100 senators do coffee with their constituents at least once a month. Kristen Sinema does it twice a month. And she sends a Zoom link out there. You can also do a personal request to have a conversation one-on-one with her. And she's actually very good about getting back to you and letting you know, like, hey, these are the times I have available. Obviously, you have to work around her schedule. She has committee meetings. She has Senate floor procedures. There's things going on that she has to do as well. And just because somebody isn't having a town meeting, you have to remember she represents like the entire state. And this is the easiest way where she can say, okay, if you need to reach out to me, here's a time, here's a date, and everyone can come instead of people driving, maybe 200 miles from northern Arizona down to southern Arizona where she's having her town meeting.
During COVID.
Now, during COVID, exactly.
Yep.
So to sit here and say she's not, available to her constituents, every single senator is available to their constituents. They have to be. They're required to be by federal law. In fact, they will be sanctioned within the House of Representatives, and AOC was sanctioned just 4 months ago in the House. Now, it's the same rules for the Senate, just so you know. I know that she's in the Senate. I'm just saying, as an example, AOC was sanctioned and she was fined $1,000 because she was not getting back with her constituents. She wasn't doing her job. Now, we have Republicans who do that as well, but she's actually very good about getting back with her constituents. And if she doesn't directly, she has a ton of pages and ton of interns who will actually answer every single question you have. Not only that, but you get a personal email. Like,
I'm going to push back against that because I have actually tried to contact her.
Copy and paste the email.
I have tried to contact her several times to
an email sent to him in like 50 different different terminologies and things, and you'll get a copy paste email from him where it's just like the exact same thing.
That's all I've ever gotten from her. I've only gotten from her staff. I've never gotten anything from her.
Doing it. She's very vocal about being in contact with her constituents.
I'm going to push back on that. I'm going to push back on that because that is a right-wing darling. In my experience as her constituent, I've never gotten an email back from her. I've emailed her several times, not being rude, asking her genuine questions. I've called her office. I have definitely been involved, and I can't get a call back from her. I can't get an answer from her. And the Zoom meetings you reference, I'm on her mailing list. I also have not gotten her.
One second, pull back. Kate, hello, Kate. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you didn't hear the last person was just talking?
No.
Okay, this happens. It's a Discord thing. So I want you to disconnect from the call, jump back into the waiting room, and I'll pull you back in, okay?
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
Don't be a cunt, Sunshine.
Literally.
So wait, you guys are all going to badmouth AOC now that she actually did what you guys were accusing Cinema of, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I will be.
Almost like we actually criticized.
Seems like a rainy day.
Anybody who does not make themselves available to their constituent is up for criticism. I don't care who they are. It doesn't matter to me whether they're AOC, Kirsten Sinema, Joe Manchin, or Mitch McConnell.
Well, it sounds like it's actually true about AOC, but not actually true about Cinema.
Did you criticize the god of the left, AOC?
I was actually very surprised to see.
Not McQueen.
I was surprised to see that West Virginia elected a Democrat.
Right-wingers are so dumb.
So I want to get back to what Jason was trying to do with Kate here. Kate, can you hear? You can hear me now, right?
I can hear you.
And Jason.
Hello.
Oh, sorry.
The only person I can't hear is Jason. I don't know if maybe.
Jason,
maybe right-click and move his volume knob up.
Yeah,
check to see if you
might be
me.
low on your end.
Yeah, test on Jason.
Check.
Can you hear him now?
It just shows that he's like muting me, so I'm not sure if it's on his end or my end.
He can't mute you like that. No, you can't. You wouldn't see it.
Yeah, you muted him by the sounds.
Yes, you muted him.
Okay, let me see. Can you try talking now?
Hello. It happened to me before yesterday too.
Okay, great.
So I wanted to push back a little bit on what you said because I am on Kirsten Sinema's mailing list. I actually do try to contact her. I've tried to contact her numerous times by email. I've tried to contact her office by phone, and I have not received anything back except for one generic response I got from somebody on her staff that did look like copy and paste. Now, I don't know if she's got a million different mailing lists, but I'll tell you the one I'm on. I actively try to contact her and actively try to contact her office, and I have not once gotten a contact back.
Okay, so which one are you? Did you go to her actual Senate page, the Cinema Senate page?
I've gone to her Senate page. I've emailed both her Senate and her campaign, and not gotten a response from either. And I've called her Senate office, and I've called her office here in Arizona. Yes, I am.
Okay.
And have you done the sign up for updates portion of the thing where it says like at the bottom and you subscribe with the email? And have you checked your junk mail? Because half of her emails end up in my junk mail.
No, I actually have an email address that's set up specifically for political stuff, and I check my junk mail. I check everything. I just haven't had the experience that you're describing. I'm not saying that that's not possible. I'm not saying that I couldn't be an exception to the
rules. Last time you received
your junk mail folder now.
I'm going right now, actually.
Want the receipts? Yeah.
Kate, go ahead.
Share the screen.
I can tell you. Hang on, let me look because I'll just type it in. I believe it was like 4 days ago that I got. Yeah. So my last update from Cinema was on Thursday of last week.
Wow.
So you should have received an email Thursday of last week with an update about her once within the BBB, which is the Build Back Better.
Okay, but hold on. But he's talking about directly having some sort of communication. And is that what you're talking about? All right. So like reaching out and then getting a response on the thing you're talking about.
Right.
Correct?
So when she sends those updates, like, she sends out those emails, if you directly respond to those emails, that's the best way that I have found, at least for her, to get information, because you're responding directly to something she sent you. I know sometimes when you just go and you just do their generic email address that's like on their webpage, like sometimes it goes off into La La Land, they get thousands, but when you directly respond, and so that might be the difference, is that I typically will directly respond to something sent to me. And I follow all 100 senators. I follow like 216 House of Representatives. Like I'm a part of all those emails. It gets ridiculous, but I try
Sounds like you know what you're talking about, Kate.
I try to keep up with everything. Like I watch hearings every single day, all day long. That's all I do.
Wow. I agree with you. You seem knowledgeable.
Yeah, I must not be on that mailing list because I didn't get anything from her. I've definitely appealed to her on several occasions and not gotten anything back. So I guess people have varied experiences.
Zoom meetings or something, so it sounds like you could join those.
Hey,
she literally watches like C-SPAN like the entire time.
Kate,
why don't you send me a whisper and I'll send you like the like a copy and paste of the email address, and you can like I'll forward you the email that I got on Thursday, and then you can directly email through that, like respond through that email, and then maybe they can add you to the correct list or whatever. Maybe it's just that you got bumped off, or who knows. But if you want to do that, I'd be happy to help you facilitate getting in contact. And
I would love that. Actually, I appreciate that. So I will do that.
All right,
Prime. Sorry for the late
connections.
Sorry for the late responses. I'm in like Korea, so there's like a delay here. Like the latency is pretty high.
Oh, sorry. Okay, great, no problem. All right, so the reason why we were on this whole thing about can you contact this woman is that a lot of people are hanging their hat on this, saying that she is not reachable, right? So I have no idea. I literally have no idea. I've never tried to contact this woman. I don't know if this. I don't think Kate's particularly trying to lie to us or anything like that. I just have no idea. But even if she is reachable, though, right? Does that mean that you can't protest a person otherwise, right? So there are other senators, right, and other Congress people who've been protesters. It's not like they have all been. They haven't all been said to be unreachable, but they've been protested nonetheless, right? Does it make it any less valid when there might be another way of doing this? Or, I mean, it's a protest, right? Should you, or not even just a protest, but like there are activists confronting them.
Right.
Is it any less valid to do so at that point? Because
there's a level of boundary that you have to have. Like it's a common courtesy boundary, even when you're wanting to be an activist, right? So you don't go into like a teacher's classroom that you aren't a part of. You're not even a part of that school to specifically harass somebody. First off, that's against the law. Second off, it gets to the point where is it stalking? You know what I mean? So you can be an activist, but at what point are you stalking that person? Are you stalking that person when they're using the restroom or trying to get away, like actively trying to get away from you so that they can do the job or the task that they have at hand? If you're saying that they're unreachable you can't contact them, there are procedures that you can go about where you can file through the Senate or through the House of Representatives, if it's a representative, a complaint against the senator or the House of Representatives. And if that person doesn't get in contact with you and doesn't show that they've made an attempt to get in contact with you to go over your issues or whatever they are,
I'm telling you,
they can
I
be
have tried to
sanctioned.
contact this
They
woman.
can lose their committees.
Such a
there are a lot
bullshit
of
statement.
different.
I'm sorry, I don't buy it.
negative things that can happen to them. And I brought up the AOC thing because she was just recently sanctioned. It wasn't because she was a Democrat. Like I said, I mean, it was just because she was recently sanctioned over something very similar. And it was $1,000 fine. I think that you have to look at that line of where is it that you're being an activist and where is it that you're being almost stalkerish and potentially harmful towards somebody, because we still have human rights. We still have the right to our bodies and our abilities to, you know, live our life.
No, she's definitely somebody who's deeply
involved. Not according
to
the people who are
protesting. Equate to people
they don't feel
like
that.
you and I. It just doesn't.
You know, that's why that's why they are there. You know,
she obviously knows how to maneuver the system, and she's relying on everybody else knowing the same thing. And that's a very privileged position to be in.
Threat to her, something like that. It was all filmed. Now, you know, in terms of like protesters know the people that they risk being arrested and facing charges. They know that. You know, I think that's just the level of the level of the discontent in the public about Kyrsten Sinema.
Average Arizonans can't do that. You know what I'm saying?
About a lot of people in government. And I think just as Americans, we have to remember that just because we don't agree on everything ideologically doesn't necessarily mean that we have to forget about the humanity of somebody.
Are you a Republican?
Well, when you talk about
politicians don't have humanity.
Yeah, when you talk about the humanity of somebody, like if we just boil everything down to like political disagreements, right, and only talk about the humanity of people when we're harassing fucking senators, I think you're kind of missing the point. Like people are pissed at Kyrsten Sinema, right, because they care about the humanity of people, right? Because they care about the deaths and the destitution and the poverty that will be caused by the decision she made.
And one of the things that you guys said earlier, which is kind of crazy, is you said, well, you know, the whole like amnesty thing. Do you know that the parliament of the Senate was the one who said that you can't put amnesty in a reconciliation bill?
That's not valid. It doesn't matter. You can overrule a parliamentarian or fire them anytime you want. Like that's not even a valid excuse for not getting it done.
Republicans have done that so many times.
But what I'm saying is that if you were to go by the Senate rules, which the Senate rules were changed in '86, you do have to follow to a certain extent what the parliament says and what the parliamentarian says.
And the parliamentarian can be, literally, if they can be overruled, then them not going through with overruling them or firing them completely means that they're using that as an excuse not to do it.
It's controlled opposition.
How they overrule it? Do you know how they overrule it?
The parliamentarian is a fake ruling. It's a fake ruling.
Ignoring it. That's how they overrule it. Just ignore it.
You can ignore it, or you can fire them and get a new ruling.
Yep.
Is that true?
Yes.
That sounds like some
Republicans have done it.
Republicans have done it several times.
Look, I find it funny that Sunshine only agrees with things that agree with the right. But I just want to point that out. It's just disingenuous.
What are you implying?
I'm implying that you're disingenuous.
It's called verbal clickbait.
Yo.
He's a disingenuous hack. He's just trying to
Republicans,
troll you.
Conservatives. How about that?
So just ignore him, man. He hasn't provided any.
What do I gotta do to prove you? Chaotic.
But nevertheless,
actually, wait. What do you have to prove to me that you're actually here to argue in good faith? Present something worth talking about instead of asking stupid ass questions.
Okay,
so my questions are based in true.
I wanted to hold on with Kate. I just want
just control with no meaningful contribution.
Hold on.
Hang on.
Hold on. Hey, stop. Kate, can you not hear me? Kate.
Yes.
Listen to me. Listen. Pull back. Okay. All right.
Sorry. Because they
problem.
said that the parliamentary can be overruled. The only way you can overrule the parliamentary is by a 60-vote count in the Senate. That's the only way.
No, you can. Not
that they can be fired.
No, they can pass something through the reconciliation bill.
You can fire the parliamentarian.
Actively fire them. So
you can, but then you'd have to go through an entire process of hiring a new parliamentary, and they have to be approved by a 60-vote count in the Senate. And
it has to be approved by 60 votes again?
$3.5 trillion spending bill you don't have the parliamentary
The
backing on it.
presiding officer may
No, you
overrule
don't.
the advice of the parliamentarian. In practice, this is rare. The most recent example of a vice president, president of the Senate overruling the parliamentarian was Nelson Rockefeller in 1975. So no, actually all it takes is for the presiding president of the Senate to say that they're going to do that. So that's Kamala Harris.
And I just said that previously.
But okay, shit. I want to ask you, or you brought this thing previously as to why you can't confront these people, right? It was these rules of what would you call them? Rules of Kate. You were saying like you brought up the whole teacher thing, and was it rules of civility or something? That's what you said, Kate. Kate, can you hear me?
Humanity? I don't know.
Okay, or whatever. It's fine.
I mean,
but the point is that like I heavily disagree. These are the individuals who are in charge, and what you're saying is civility politics. Well, don't harass these people. These people, they, even though they are in charge of the nation, can pass laws that affect our lives. Can pass laws that throw you out of the country, for instance, right? Can use law enforcement against citizens or individuals that they don't like, right? They can use the power of the state, bring that on you, right? But we don't want to be rude. We don't want to harass them, harangue them, right? And of course we could do that. Of course. I think that there are no limits to that? No, I certainly do. I think they're absolutely, right? I think there's a good way to do these things. I think there's a bad way of doing these things. But like the point is to make them uncomfortable, right? Like to make the powerful uncomfortable. And this isn't a teacher. You brought the example of a teacher, right? A teacher does not have the power of the state behind them. This is a completely different thing. So you have a right to confront these individuals. Now, exactly where you do it, I think we can talk about that. But to actually confront them, yeah, absolutely.
It depends on the validity of your claim, right? Like, it depends on the validity and the severity of your claim. If you're just like, I don't know, I'm fucking annoyed because the garbage collection hasn't been done last month, like maybe it's not appropriate to be like turning up at their house and harassing them, right? But if you're talking about more important issues, then yeah.
Trash is pretty important though.
You can respond, Kate.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh yeah. What I was gonna basically say to this is that
Kate, you can respond.
Oh, Kate. Oh, I didn't know she was back.
Kate.
What's that?
Did you not hear anything was said to you? No. Okay. Oh, never mind. Don't worry about it then. All right, moving on. Let's go ahead. You want to say something, Columbo?
Yeah. What I was gonna say is that when it comes to like, we can constantly go back to, is she doing her job right? Does she actually have a fear if she doesn't go with her constituents when she openly has went against what she has promised in her current campaign? But I think the main thing we should really take from this is the fact that I feel personally that, especially with senators, when it comes to the people in Congress, they don't have to engage with their people as much. And especially with how the term limit is 6 years instead of 2 years, except for very fringe instances, like Raphael Warnock is gonna run again in 2 years. But I think the main concern that we have is that you don't see the Congress people who are in charge of everything from the federal top-down level on how our lives are ran, not doing anything, constantly benefiting the benefactors instead of the people, especially when it comes to their policies, and then not ever having to engage with what comes from that, especially with this infrastructure bill. They're probably never going to have to deal with the terrible infrastructure we have or the healthcare need that countless Americans need, or any of that to that matter. And I believe that these protests, even though if it got excessive by going into the bathroom, which I would not defend, they shouldn't have continued into the bathroom. I feel like we could try a lot harder to protest in some of these ways. And I'm just glad that we have these kinds of forms of protest, because we openly have people just trying to destroy America in many regards. And it, like, seeing people actively, like, directly trying to spread a message about it and confront their senators, instead of the senators having to either do a Zoom call, if not nothing at all. Like, I don't know. I just want more engagement and protest towards politicians like this.
Are you referring to the reconciliation bill or the infrastructure bill?
Colin?
Reconciliation bill, which one?
The reconciliation is soft infrastructure, and the bipartisan is infrastructure like roads and bridges.
The reconciliation bill is the 3.5 trillion one backed by Bernie and Joe Biden, and then the other one is the bipartisan,
the expansion.
Yeah, like 1.5 trillion.
1.5 trillion. Yeah.
Yeah, I confused the two.
Yo,
yeah, I confused the one Joe Manchin made and then the one we are actually trying to pass.
Yeah,
well, infrastructure is being held up in the House of Representatives right now. And
say the numbers, because that's not easier, because they're both like dealing with quote unquote infrastructure.
Yeah,
so
you
like
mean
1.5 trillion or 3.5 trillion, Kate?
Yeah. Oh, well, if we're talking
PR
about
was
like how
passed,
there's
the
like
one-
the
it's a
$2 trillion
3.5 that is
difference
being
because
held
of
up.
the massive number, yeah.
Both are being held up.
Yeah, both are being held up.
I thought they, oh shit, I'm not gonna get paid then. That's fucking shitty.
No,
wait, I got. Hold on, let me tell you something.
Well, I remember Manchin was fine with the 1.5.
Some guy in
I don't know if Kirsten Sinema was against the 1.2.
Crunch, you're talking about the continuing resolution. The CR already passed.
Okay, good. I'm getting paid.
We had the CR, which passed last week, which makes it so that we have a national budget through December the 3rd.
Yeah.
Then you have the debt ceiling, which is being argued right now in the Senate. You have the $3.5 trillion bill that's being argued right now in the Senate, but it's actually about to go to joint session between the Senate and the House. And then you have the infrastructure bill, which is being held up in the House of Representatives.
Correct.
If you guys need the bill numbers, I can give them to you, but that's what you've got going on right now for major
I think
bills.
we're talking about the last two you talked about.
So point being is Sinema ran on a bunch of shit that she isn't fulfilling. She lied to her constituents. She lied to the people that voted for her. She lied to the people that organized for her, me being one of them, about what she was going to do. She backpedaled as soon as she got $750,000 from pharma and medical industries. Maybe not as soon as, but I think that money heavily influenced her decision to exclude Medicare being able to negotiate drug prices. I mean, there's reasons why people are pissed off and want to confront her in every way possible. And then when they do confront her, she stonewalls them. Maybe instead she should try talking to them a little bit and being like, you know what? I understand you're pissed off. This isn't maybe the best way to do this, but I want to tell you something. I care about what's going on with you. And there's other things that I dislike in these policies or in these bills. And that's why I can't pass this right now as it is. But she's not saying that to people. She's stonewalling them. She's running to the bathroom. She's not having the conversation. And yeah, you know what? She may have coffees and do all this stuff. But Kate, what you're missing is average Arizonans don't have the time to jump through these hoops. They want to be able to be quick about it. And like I said, you're going to send me an email that I have to reply to get her to respond to me. She should reply anyways. She should reply when I call her office. She should reply when any of her constituents call or email her office. It shouldn't have to be off of a response from an email that we have to try to dig up. And then you're talking about Zoom meetings. Why aren't those Zoom meetings available on YouTube for everybody to see so we understand what she's saying? I can't find them.
Preach. But also, didn't she vote no against the minimum wage increase?
Yeah, which she campaigned on.
She did her little curtsy dance.
Did she campaign on a $15 minimum wage?
She did.
Well, the minimum wage thing, right? I don't think $15 is enough, right?
That's another
people's minds right now.
I mean, that's another.
Oh, we're not talking about that.
I would still take it.
I mean, do we have another topic? I don't think anybody disagrees that you should be able to like annoy your politicians.
No, Kate disagreed. Other people have disagreed. Like that's like, and I want to explore the limits of these, right? So, is it going to the House? Okay, right? Like we did with Tristan Nielsen previously. Is going to a House okay?
I think it's a scumbag move, but I think it's okay.
Okay,
I
does
think
everyone
it's
agree
a
with that?
douche-ass move. But
I think if they're on her property, it's kind of weird, bro. I'm not gonna.
Well, they shouldn't go on her property,
got
but
in
like
here,
out
that
front
you
of
should
the
be able to egg 'em.
house. You know, if you're not doing what your constituency wants, then I mean, I think you should be accosted.
Does she have a constituency? Isn't she an unelected official?
Who?
Kirsten Nielsen.
Yeah, he's talking about some lady from Trump's cartel.
I don't even know who the fuck that is.
Oh my god, guys, pay attention.
He had it on the stream, bro. You got to watch the pre-streams. Everyone knows this.
Yeah.
I mean, what did she do? Is it relevant, or is she just
yes? Hold on, shut up, and you'll find out. Like, yeah, she was the one who was in charge. I've said this like 4 times already. She was the one in charge of the separating children at the border policy, right? Separating migrant children at the border. She implemented that. She was the first CHS secretary, and people confronted her. They confronted her at a restaurant where she was eating, during her private time. They confronted her there, and then later on, they confronted her at her house. So, are these two things, are they equal? Are they just as valid as...
She's not in power anymore, and she wasn't an elected official?
I mean, when you're literally
No. Those protests were while she was in office, though.
Yeah, I think it's
now,
relevant.
then sure. If she was in her working capacity while that shit was happening, then sure. But if she's out now and people are still standing in her fucking yard,
no one's saying that. No one's talking about.
Sure, I think we all agree on that. Good.
Oh my
I
God,
think we all agree. I'm just trying to end it so we can move.
No, I don't think you would, because you don't understand the situation. Like, you keep getting.
No, I just said we all agree. Yeah, I think you should be able to be
you don't. Hold on, excuse me. Don't tell me that we all agree. Don't speak for everyone else. I want to hear what people are saying. All right.
I think it's not enough. I think you can go farther than just showing up at their house or following them into the bathroom.
How far should they go, brother?
Like, the kid in Australia. Yeah, as far as needed. As far as protests goes, you're going to be civil until you can't.
Should they be able to walk into the person's house?
I mean, I'll walk into Ted Cruz's house. That sounds like fun.
Bro.
But seriously, you should be able to throw an egg at a politician.
Okay.
So you can go. I think what we're like, we've been talking about, like following someone in the bathroom. I think it's like kind of like milquetoast compared to like, I don't know if I'm using milquetoast correctly. It's kind of like mild compared to like what honestly should be acceptable for getting a politician to pay attention to the issues that you're trying to bring to them.
It's like I said earlier.
She rage quit.
That's mean. That's mean, dude. You can't be mean.
It's proportionality, right? Like in the case of the other Kirsten, she's literally complicit in like fucking crimes against humanity, man. It's just fucking disgusting. What you guys do at the border to immigrants is fucking actually abhorrent, and people should be like hauled up in the International Criminal Court for like the shit that goes on in America at the border. So like, and because that isn't happening, right? Like I don't even know what what I would be happy with people doing, frankly.
Yeah, I mean the amount of harm that politicians can do to us is way fucking more than the harm that we could ever possibly do to them. So like, it's worth putting it into perspective.
Exactly.
Freshing. I got a question for you. How would you feel if there was let's say 50 votes or whatever is needed to pass the legislation, and then a group of legislation that you want, and then a group of Republicans showed up to one of the Democrats' house, only a few of them, and bullied them into not voting for it? How would you feel about that?
Well, I mean, well, okay. So
this is dumb.
Question. Oh, okay.
I would say that they're allowed to protest the politician.
Yeah, but you're saying.
Absolutely.
You're saying
depends what they're protesting. Quite often,
And
when
just
Republicans
because
protest,
Do you guys have like
Yeah,
a
but a
new
system
policy
can't
that
function
started
based on
as-
what you want passing and what you don't want not passing.
like with
Hey, if people are dying and children are getting separated from their parents, I
that
would
a new
protest in
policy?
every way
When did that
possible and
start?
do whatever I could to make that change. I don't give a shit if it infringes upon their comfort level or their comfort zone.
When did it
Children
start,
are
and when
dying
did you
at the
start
border
caring about
because
it?
they won't keep them with their parents and they're keeping children in
Okay.
cages. No,
In
there's
the
no
moment,
limit.
the opposite
When did you guys start caring about it? Is my question.
In the Obama
era, no one can answer.
We start caring about what, Crunch?
Fucking dweeb, okay? Look,
Oh, the
this
border
is what
policy.
I said about fucking proportionality,
with
right?
separating children from families.
Yes,
When did that
in the
start? When
Obama
did you
era,
start
and we
caring about
started
it?
caring
I
in
was
the
screaming
Obama
at
era.
Obama about that shit. By the
Oh,
way,
you were this vocal about it back then, or no?
We all cared about it.
Obama bad.
I don't think you know what you're talking
I
about.
swear to fuck, I'm gonna finish my fucking sentence, you dweeb. Okay, listen, we cared about it at the same time we were shitting on Obama for all the fucking drone strikes and shit, okay? Now, this is my point about fucking proportionality. If you have a bunch of Republicans going to protest something, I think we can pretty easily determine whether or not that thing is fucking valid when they're turning up to, like, actually fucking assault school
don't piss
counselors
Mike off. He
because
gets
they're worried
vicious.
about them teaching CRT to their kids. Those people should be in fucking prison, mate. They are unhinged, they are detached from fucking reality, and they are assaulting people for no good fucking reason, right? When somebody turns up to protest somebody because of all the shit that's going on at the border, right? We are literally seeing people fucking dying in cages, children dying in fucking cages, children going without food, without sanitation, without fucking proper care at all, right? Like, this shit is a crime against fucking humanity. Your imaginary crusade against critical race theory is invalid and shouldn't be fucking listened to.
So
Okay,
who determines what's valid and what's
Republicans show up
invalid?
at the border protesting the same things you just said. Why can't we come up with a bipartisan agreement to fix these things?
Because Republicans aren't willing to actually.
Anybody have any answer to that? Why
because there's a lot of people who have a vested interest in a second-class citizenry, and that's exactly what immigrants are to a lot of these people. Because they can literally, if you want to use a very disturbing euphemism, they can pump and dump them. They can straight up hire them.
There's literally
they can hire
Republicans
them,
showing
put
up
them
at the
to
border
work.
protesting the same shit that the Democrats protested the last
Okay, hold on. The Democrats aren't the driving force between like the praxis of the border that exists. Like, it's mostly farther left groups that are like participating on like actually like dropping water in the desert for people and like showing up at the butterfly sanctuary in Texas to like prevent the actual border wall going up. Like, there is a lot of like legislative like posturing like on the national level.
Yeah,
the Democrats
like 4 years ago it was the Democrats, now it's the Republicans. I don't know why. Like, you guys agree?
You're saying we don't love the Democrats
because
so much,
it's a singular problem within the United States and with how it addresses and how it handles its foreign policy. It's a single issue, even though there's two parties that's functioning as a single entity in this regard.
Agreed.
And so that's why
they both have a vested interest in a second-class citizenry.
Yeah,
they both because they want somebody to exploit, and that leads to my next point, which is that capitalism only works when you have people to exploit. So there it is.
Oh, good one, bro.
Listen, fresh ink. Can you just answer? How would you feel if Republicans bullied a Democrat into voting against something that they would have voted for?
So if the Democrat called it bullying and then they were just like egged, like how I described, or they showed up at their house and were like,
sure, they showed up at the Democrat's house and
no, that's fine.
Okay,
that's fine. That's totally fine.
Whack. A system like this
so
is
you
unsustainable.
ask a stupid question, he gives you.
What's stupid about that, dumb fuck? What's stupid about that? That's literally the same. I just asked something he advocated for in the other direction. You're like, this is dumb.
Hold on,
This is dumb. It could never happen in reverse.
It's a dumb question because it's a dumb question because I don't have any attachments to the Democratic Party. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a liberal.
Okay, then you're misunderstanding the question. The overall.
What difference does it make if you're not a Democrat? Like, how does that play into? We're talking about the interaction between protesters and politicians. It makes no difference where you stand. The point is, like, the principle of it all is are these things okay? Yeah.
Well, the point is that this walking on Sunshank, I was trying to make a gotcha point about. Like,
no, I wasn't, dumb fuck. You just don't understand.
No, you were.
Listen.
No,
you were. Just listen.
It doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or Republican. You treat it the same.
Whoa! Pull it back.
Imagine failing so hard at trolling that you end up trolling yourself into a rage.
Okay,
cry baby, dude.
Hey, stop it! Shut up. Thank you. All right, I just got 1,000 bits. Which means someone's getting muted. Chaotic Neutral, they picked you to get muted for 10 minutes. All right, so we'll get you back there, though. So I can find you here. Blender. Here they are. Okay. But, yeah, Chaotic.
Who did that? Who did that? That's a good ass game.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I think this is a perfectly reasonable question. And so, Fresh Ink, like, I wanted you, like, to try to deal with this question. Like, what difference does it make? What like where you are in the political spectrum?
I pointed it out because I felt that it was like a gotcha take. Like he was just expecting I wouldn't have like a consistency with like a Democrat getting bullied,
Well, you
It
do.
had nothing to do with Republican or Democrat. My point was that it was
I don't
Who'd you vote for? Who do you vote for right now?
I live in Texas. We have to vote for every single judge that exists in this state.
Yeah, who do you vote for? Democrats or Republicans or third party?
No, I don't.
What did you put on the ballot at the federal election? Did you put Biden or did you put whatever the Green Party candidate was?
I vote Biden.
Oh, you voted
Okay,
Democrat,
so
so you
you
obviously have to
obviously
support
vote-
everything they do.
No,
Okay, so me
What I'm
picking
saying
one-
is like you're like fuck Democrats, but I vote for them every time they come on the ballot instead of like a third
Better than
party.
Republicans, dude.
voted twice.
Better than Republicans.
Because we don't have a choice, mate.
Dude, I've only voted twice on a federal election. I did not vote for
Dude,
Hillary
why don't you
Clinton.
just vote socialist?
You have to choose between liberals and fascists. I mean, you kind of got to choose.
No, there are
liberals,
other
right?
parties, and the reason that they're not even applicable is because people like this just vote because they're mad for somebody that doesn't hold their ideas.
This is really.
I wasn't saying
if there were people that actually voted for them and held their ideas.
I did
But
kind
they'll
of
vote
own
for
that shit,
somebody
didn't I?
that
That was nice.
Party, they'll lose.
Every once in a while, I
No,
have my
that's not my
moments,
point.
guys.
That's why I don't. That's not why I don't vote for third party. I vote for third party candidates. I vote for third party judges because I don't trust like justice.
Okay, in the
Democrats,
federal
right?
election, you ever voted for a third party?
I've only been able to vote twice, and all the
Okay,
third parties
who'd
have
you
been
vote for
absolutely
last year?
garbage.
Who'd
I
you vote for
voted
in
for-
2016?
I voted for Trump.
Sorry, what difference does it make? What
No
difference
way.
is waiting for?
Can I ask you something though, Crunch Lord? Like a
Joe,
real,
I'm
real
right
question?
wing and I didn't vote for Trump. Oh my goodness.
Hold on. I want to
Because
ask.
I
Just
voted
curious.
against.
Republican,
I
by
vote
the way.
against people. I don't vote for people. I vote against them.
I want to ask you a question
That's
though,
a terrible
Crunch.
way to freaking think, though.
But-
You gotta
but-
vote for people that hold the same ideas as you, right?
But
We want to
nobody
make
has the same
third-party
ideas as
candidates
me.
viable, and they're not viable if you just vote against people.
So the
Crunch.
things I want to see on the federal level is like stuff like land back and prison abolition. I don't have any political candidates that follows like that's gonna do shit that I care about.
So,
I wanted to touch on something.
Are the most worst.
There is no left in the United States because it's been the product of an insane propaganda campaign since the fucking 60s.
Yep.
Even before that. So
Almost like it's by
War.
design.
It dates back to like Reconstruction because
Could it just be that your ideas are unpopular?
Well,
No,
yeah,
no.
the ideas are unpopular.
Well, they're unpopular because of
Could it be that your
indoctrination.
ideas are
Right?
bad? Is that possible?
Well,
also
I mean, every
indoctrinated-
fucking conversation I've had with somebody with your views has pretty much turned out the same way, that you can't fucking back anything up, and you're.
Wait, what are my
detached from
views?
reality. Let's go ahead.
Whatever's stupid as hell. That's your view.
Good one, bro. That was epic. Now let's abolish prisons. That's realistic.
That's actually a great idea.
We're gonna have to pause.
Wow.
We're gonna have to pause for a little bit because we're on a hype train right now. So please, how about the channel? This is how we support ourselves. This is how we can bring you all of this, right? So if you are out there and you aren't currently subbed, please consider subbing. Right, $5 to do so. $5 to keep this channel alive. So subscribe. Right, you'll get access to our emotes, exclamation point emotes in chat. All the emotes that you get. There you go, emotes. You'll get sub-free viewing. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, NJ Palms, for 3,000 bits. Okay, that helps us out a ton. Thank you, NJ Palms. You also gave 1,000 bits previously. And then thank you to Jason Society, who gave 1,100 bits. And thank you to King of William, who gave 500 bits. Thank you. Followed by Pat. You gave before, and then I fucked it up. I apologize. But Pat Lutian, who I know I'm saying that wrong, who gifted a sub as well to Gluar, who's a regular here in this community. All right, thank you for that support. Putting us at level 2 hype train. Oh, okay, never mind. That's gone. That's dead too. Because Naira Sox gifted 13 subs on top of that. Naira Sox is being awfully kind. Thank you, Diamond Hands, Naira Sox. Also, I mean, NJ Palms is the one who gifted 2,000 bits before. That's my fault. Excuse me. But I get the names confused. But Diamond and Naira Sox, thank you for gifting 13 subs, putting you at 300 subs total to the channel. Thank you for the kindness. Oh man, that helps a ton. And Eucharist gifting a sub as well, putting on that 34 subs all together. Thank you all. All right, we're at level 4 hype train because these very kind individuals are helping us out, making this a possibility. We were at 14%, now we're at 19% because Drippy Iffy is also gets to the sub, gifting 3 in total, or excuse me, 5 in total. Thank you for that, for helping us out. Yeah, that's such a big help. Thank you. All right, so we got 90% done, and 81% left. Can we get to a level 5 higher chain? We are moving like really fast. I didn't expect that. But Patalutian is once again gifting us up. Thank you for gifting your 5th sub to the channel. Maybe give me like a pronunciation guide because I feel like I'm fucking it up, and I do apologize for that. Kate Speaks, who we apparently just had here, subs. Oh, well, that's awfully kind of you. Thank you for subbing at tier 1. Kate Speaks, love to see it. That's a great way of supporting this community. All right. Yes, when you sub, of course, yes, you'll get extra emotes. You'll get ad reviewing. You'll get access to sub-only parts of our Discord. We can submit panel topics. In fact, this was... Oh, shit. Oh, wow, Kate. Well, that's awfully kind of you. All right. Kate, subbing, and then gifting 10 subs to the community. Oh, crap. Thank you for the kindness, Kate Speaks. Oh, man. Yeah, thank you for that kindness, helping us out your first 10 subs. Thank you for investing in what we're trying to do here. Yeah, it's awfully kind of you. Okay, because of Kate, we are at a level 5 hype train. This has happened very, very quickly. Our level 5 hype train, 5% done, 95% left. 95% left, 1.5 minutes on the clock. Can we get to a maximum hype train? Is that a possibility? We're on the cusp of it. I didn't see that coming. But thank you for helping us out so far. All right, how do you?
It's my girl. That's my girl.
Come on, fuckers, some more.
6 kids.
Get to a level 6.
6 kids. Okay.
She has 6 kids.
She has 6 kids and twins.
Oh, wow.
Just saying.
Come on, one of you fuckers is rich. Just sub a bunch. Come on, get it to level 6.
Yeah.
Guys, it's a hype train. Where's the hype?
Congratulations on all the.
It's actually cheaper for me to. It's actually cheaper for me to sub here because there's like no taxes.
You better sub twice as much, bud. Go.
So yes,
nah, dude, I'm poor.
We are
sub so hard, guys.
That's no excuse, bud. Keep the subs coming.
We have less than 3.5 minutes left on this hype train. To assist with this hype train, please sub to channel or gift bits, as some kind people have been doing previously, or give subs like Kate just did. Right, all that helps us out. All that keeps us going. If you have a resub that's ready to pop, like one of those resub messages, then use that. That helps out the hype train as well. Continue a sub. We've got a sub from one of our kind donors, then please be so kind as to use that. Omni, if you can mute yourself, we got some like background noise coming from you. But no problem. Nightmare Shiro, thank you for gifting a sub to Christopher 17 as well. Thank you, putting you at 13 subs. We're at 10% now because of Nightmare Shiro. Okay, 90% left. 90% left. Less than 2.5 minutes on the clock. Can we get to a maximum hype train? Almost there. But again, thank you for the kind so far. When you're investing in this channel, you're supporting this open panel, right? That we do 6 nights a week. I did not feel like getting up today. I didn't say this before, but like I really, I had to convince myself to come here. But we never skip a day. Not one single day. Haven't done it yet, right? Not a single day do we skip. We always here to bring you content. So if you are always here to support, then I can always be here to provide you this content. So if you're enjoying this, I'll be solid. Drippy Iffy with another sub to the community. Thank you. To give it to Woody. All right, fair enough. All right. Bring us 15% of a level 5 hype train, 85% left, 90 seconds on the clock. Can we get there? We're moving along.
Did I miss your follow, Cool Bean?
Any more heroes in chat? Any more heroes
shows
in
you
chat?
just followed 25 minutes ago. Did you?
To a maximum.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Maximum hype train.
I didn't see it come in. I am so sorry about that.
Of course, when you get to your hype train, you get exclusive hype train emotes. can only get when you're donating during hype train. So subbing yourself, or gifting bits, or gifting subs, continuing subs, right? You can multi-month sub, so sub for 3 months or 6 months, and get discounts if you have an Amazon Prime, says Prime Gaming. Then you can sub to the channel for free, one free sub to the channel, which helps us out a ton, right? Consider using that here. Thank you, Panta.
Bro, Crunch, thank you so much, man. That's rad as hell. I appreciate that shit, dude. That's
thank
so
you,
cool.
Jesse's Broke, who's been a really kind supporter in the past, for paying for the subs you got from Leah, one of our very, very kind donors, and gifting a sub yourself. So thank you for putting out 13 subs. Thank you for that support. We're at 25%, 75% left. Can we get to that maximum hype train? Is that a possibility? Can we do it? Less than 30 seconds left. So sub, gift bits, or gift subs, all of that helps us out, keeps us sustainable. Thank you, Omni, for gifting 5 subs, putting us at 50%. Thank you, Omni, for kindness, and paying for the gift sub you got from Leah as well, too. So we're at 51%, 49% left. Can we do it in the last seconds on the clock? Don't know. But thank you, Omni, for the kindness, putting us pretty close to the end. It's very great. Thank you for everyone who helped us out there.
I fucking love this, dude.
Finish.
The time change works out great.
Oh my god, can you hear me? Oh my god, you're talking all right. Okay, maybe you're just talking to your stream. Anyway, but thank you for everyone who's helped us out. Yeah, like this, I can't do this without your assistance. I can't do this without people like you helping us out. So we're going to thank our top 5 gifters, but before then, we'll thank the people who gifted this time, including OmniSlap, including Jesse's Broke, Pat Lutian, still working on it, Drippy Iffy, Nightmare Shiro, Kate Speaks, helping us out a ton. Thank you, Kate. Who else? Eucharist, Nair Socks, scrolling down. Omni, if you can mute yourself. And before NJ Palms helped us out too. King William, Jason Society. Yes, thank you all for the very kind donations. Now, in terms of our top 5 gifters, we have Leah at the top with 50 subs to the channel. Thank you, Leah, for being our channel queen. NJ Palms with 25 subs. Thank you, NJ Palms, helping us out, being so kind. Nair Socks, 13 subs. Boji, 11 subs. Jason Society at 10. Tyler's Kate Speaks at 10 as well. Yeah. And then in terms of our big gifters, Leah, number 1, once again, with 10,000 bits just this month. The Cesius Baka with 5,000 bits. I remember this. I think someone changed their name. Okay, I feel like I would remember this name, right? Whatever. No, shit. Remember they get to yesterday. Whatever. NJ Palms with 4,000 bits. Culbert with 3,000 bits. Jason Society once again at 1,100 bits. Thank you all. You are the ones supporting this channel. You are the ones bearing the brunt. And it's much appreciated. Gotta let you know how much we appreciate your kindness. All right. We also have the PayPal button below. More of your money gets to us if you use the PayPal button. Exclamation for joining in chat. If you want to instead use the link in chat, if you can't use that PayPal button if you're on mobile, or exclamation for Nord, because we are a Nord affiliate. So if you use that link, we will get a cut. If you want to sign up for NordVPN, protect your internet security and all of that, helping out the channel as well. And exclamation for mail if you want to send the channel like physical stuff. All right, that's all that is. Thank you again to the people who supported, who helped us out. Let's get back to the content. I guess by now we're done with Half Neutral being muted. Okay, so we're back at it, everyone.
I just wanted to point out that, like, having unpopular ideas doesn't mean you're having good ideas, which I think is really demonstrable when you look at, like, people like Lauren Boebert and fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene in the Senate right now. You don't get elected because you're sensible.
Yeah. Crunch or Cohen, whatever.
Yeah, I just want to let you guys know I usually don't make it this late on a school night, you know, but I'm in a different country in the future, so I know everything that already happened right now. So if you guys have any questions about the future, I could tell you about them. But I appreciate these Prime panels with the time change. You guys are like the only ones up right now, so it's awesome.
Why the fuck? Did you say you were in Korea?
Yeah, I'm in the future.
Why are you in Korea?
Because I'm a Fed. I'm just here to like find extremists, and I'm gonna report them to my leadership. That's why I'm here.
He's not getting reported. Am I getting reported? I'm not, right?
Take me to your leader.
I got the based fucking true take.
Dude, I'm leaving. Okay, I just do a regular ass government job. All right, don't worry about it. We're just here hanging out.
Have you learned to speak Korean yet?
A regular job in the Department of.
I know how to say Kamsamida. That's about it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Fresh Ink, you were saying previously that you vote against people. I don't think this is a good voting strategy. Why do you do this?
Well, I voted for. Okay, so that's not entirely true. I'll vote for Biden because I was asked to by a felon, so he doesn't have a vote. And I was already in the mood, like, off the first time because I didn't like Hillary Clinton, so I was going to vote against her. I didn't like Donald Trump, but I thought he'd be so incompetent he wouldn't get anything done. So yeah, like I guess for 0 for 2 for like getting what I wanted, like just doing this. But I think if I voted for who I wanted, I'd be in the same position.
Okay.
Like I'm SOL in terms of like policies that I think are important for people or like implementing.
So, but you voted for Trump though. So this is the problem with the strategy. You end up voting for Trump, who made it clear beforehand he was a fucking racist.
Yeah, I thought he would get absolutely nothing done.
You decided to put a racist and a guy who's bragging about sexual assault in office in the hopes that he would get nothing done?
I mean, I wasn't as mature as then, but yeah, I just thought. Yeah, that
was a mistake, though, right?
Yeah, but I also think it's a mistake to vote for Joe Biden.
No shit.
Well, that wasn't.
Well, you didn't.
Wait, sorry. Did you say? Wait, did you say
you didn't have to vote for Biden? You could vote for a third party.
Did you say you voted for Trump in
and give them
2020?
viability?
No, Trump was my first election that I was ever allowed to do was 2016. That's when I voted for Trump against Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
I then voted for Biden over Trump.
I didn't even vote for Trump in 2016, and I was fucking 27.
I'll accept
Biden is better than Trump. I don't know if you know this, but this one's actually pretty easy. This was an easy election.
He's deporting more people, and he's doing all this.
That's because there's more people at the border, bro. That's because there's more people at the border.
Kind of shit, dude. I don't know. Like I think Joe Jorgensen would have been a better option.
Joe Jorgensen was never going to be president.
And look how that went.
Do you have deportations per capita, Inc?
Huh?
Do you have deportations per capita?
I don't know the deportations per capita. No. I don't
well, if there's more people at the border, there's going to be more people turned away.
Did you know? That sounds like sound math, man.
Yeah, Biden and
Obama
deported more people per capita.
Probably because there were more people at the border.
So it's a fact.
Also, Obama's deportations were a different kind. They were turned away at the border, as opposed to Trump's he was removing people from the country. Now you could say they're both bad. But one of them.
I say it's all deplorable.
Obama did also remove people from.
I'm not saying he only did one, but I'm saying most of his. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we agree.
Okay, fair enough.
You're a reasonable fan, Prime.
Tonight I am. But I'm trying to understand. Sorry, I'm trying to understand Fresh Ink here because this seems. Oh my god, crazy. This seems like a terrible strategy. So you're saying that Biden? Are you saying Biden is worse than Trump? Or
no, I'm saying Biden is doing about as well as Trump has done from my position, and he hasn't almost accidentally started, or not even accident. He hasn't almost intentionally started World War III yet, right? But I think with the continuations of the border policies enacted by Trump, I don't trust anything else he's gonna do.
Well, he did pull out of Afghanistan, which is pretty much a recipe for worldwide terror attacks.
Well, okay, so I won't touch that.
Oh no? Okay, you wanted him to pull out of Afghanistan?
I would like less war, but it's unfortunate.
I would also like less war, which is what's staying in Afghanistan. Which is what staying in Afghanistan achieved.
I don't think we got much done
20
there.
years. 20 years we didn't achieve it. I don't think we're going to achieve it in 20.
How long were we supposed to stay? I mean,
I'm sorry.
should we
The
just live
difference
there
between
forever?
the country before they pulled out and the country after they pulled out, I think actually they did
It's
achieve
about
a lot.
the same.
They achieved.
I don't know how old you are,
No,
but it's about the same.
I'm
Yeah, it might be a little bit better
32.
now than it
did
used
not
to
have
be.
as much legitimacy.
I'm 32.
No.
I remember when the Taliban were in power before. Okay, I remember the entire fucking thing. I remember the Twin Towers coming down. I'm an old ass bitch. All right.
Yeah, I was 6. I was 6 when they came down. So like, I obviously have a limited scope of like understanding the history of the Taliban like on a first-hand basis, right?
Yeah. So the difference between when the Taliban were in charge of Afghanistan before, right, and just before the US forces pulled out, is fucking huge, man. Fucking literacy rates, civil rights for both women and even LGBT people, right? Now, LGBT people got their fucking got their crime reduced from a death sentence to imprisonment, but like it's progress, right? They made significant fucking progress.
Yeah, you're right. We should just stay there forever. Yeah. You're right.
Well,
okay.
How long have you been in Germany, mate?
Oh my.
For too long.
How long have you been in Japan?
I mean,
we're not occupying Germany.
I'm saying like it's better than it was in 2001 when we got there.
They weren't occupying Afghanistan either.
Am I saying something crazy?
We don't have to.
Am I saying something crazy here that it's not better off than it was when we got there in 2001?
Oh man,
not now, but it was better off.
Yeah, I mean, like
out.
It seems like they're trying now.
They were better off
right?
before the US pulled out than they were under the Taliban in 2000.
I feel like this is my fault.
Yeah,
I mean, even the Mujahideen was like there was a whole. I mean, we're going way off topic here.
We don't have to make this whole thing because we've already debated this part. Okay, I was really actually interested in what Ink was saying previously, and like his assessment of Biden.
She's not saying we should stay there for too long. That's kind of what it sounds like to
I'm
me.
going to ask him again.
How long are we supposed to be there? 20 years is a long ass time, man.
Yeah.
We can't stabilize a country that doesn't want us there.
Point you just brought up. If we have time.
Yes, go ahead. You go first. Yeah.
Go ahead, are you really here to say that there's no difference in the immigration policies between the Trump administration and the Biden administration? I mean, what could you possibly say to
Yamato, how did Pisco get in? You didn't get in. You were in there before him, weren't
I
you?
believe my wording was they are continuing the policies that were enacted by Trump.
What policies?
So it's with the number of people that they're turning away from the border, the border patrols, people on horses and like whipping Haitians. Like these are all policies that are not just brand new to Biden, but I think because he's the man in charge, I think the lack of just an immediate response, even though that he was campaigning in part to challenge the border policies. Like in his campaign, he was like calling them grotesque and unacceptable.
Are you aware that it's against federal law to cross the border without inspection and admission?
Oh, holy fucking shit!
Yeah, do you know the way the asylum process works is that you have to come in and go to the other side.
Pisco, yes.
First of all, when you're talking about a continuation of Trump-era policies, seems to be just enforcing United States federal law in terms of process. I mean, what do you want Biden to do? Not
okay. So
do you know what we're supposed to do with asylum seekers?
No. Of course. Here's my point again about like it's.
They have to touch American soil, right?
Let me finish.
Finish, please.
This is again why I think it's futile for me to honestly just pick a candidate that's like the lesser of two evils and just pick out the evilest one and vote against them because. Like from my perspective, we should just be letting everybody in who's seeking asylum actually go through the asylum seeking process. And
Are you aware about what the asylum process entails?
Yeah, you have to come in first and then apply for it.
That's correct typically. And
at a border entry,
typically even in expedited removal proceedings, you are allowed to present an asylum claim. And so I want to know where you're deriving this notion that Joe Biden has stopped processing asylum claims.
I didn't say that he outright stopped.
Okay, so then it sounds. I mean, the difference between the immigration policies of Biden and Trump.
Haitian asylum claims, Pisco.
They process claims as they come. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. They're facing a lot of they're facing a lot of criticisms for their expedited removal proceedings and the manner in which they're enforcing.
Listen, I don't know if this is
border security.
I don't know if this is important.
Well, they weren't processing.
No, it is important because
one at a time.
It is important because the difference in the immigration policies could not be more stark. I mean, Biden instantly reverses the child separation to the extent that was already reversed, but he wasn't going to recontinue it. He stopped the travel ban. He halted construction of the border wall. He is certainly, his administration has been better about providing administrative closures and less intent on deporting people for minor reasons. This is all stuff that people who work in immigration and work in immigration law have noticed instantly, not to mention the overturning a lot of the horrible opinions of the Attorney General under Trump related to asylum procedures and who's eligible for asylum. These all represent a marked improvement over Trump, as well as maintaining DACA as best as the administration can. How could this not be any more significant? I mean, obviously, Biden is not free to just, close down the border. I mean, first of all, as a political matter, you guys could all see the headlines if he just, let everyone in the country, did not process them whatsoever. And it's federal law that he's enforcing. So I don't know what policy continuation you're seeing other than a continuation of enforcing United States federal statutes.
Then I guess I would say that the continuation of enforcing federal statutes as they stands.
Okay, so Biden should not enforce.
What do you want him to do?
He's currently in court fighting to keep Title 42 enacted.
42. Yeah, I was about to say, Trump passed a title that basically banned massive amounts of asylum seekers from coming in the border because of a health hazard, and Biden is continuing what Trump did then.
You're aware that we're
deported more people.
They don't know that, Pisco.
This is a pandemic remedy. We are living right now in an unprecedented pandemic, and
we don't give a shit about quarantine in Texas.
They can quarantine them, dude.
Yeah, and we can vaccinate all of them.
We literally.
That's a hollow argument.
At the end of the day.
I don't know what you guys
come in. So
okay,
free
first of all, I'm not going to pretend that Biden is
all the people from Haiti.
Vaccinations for asylum.
They didn't just put them on airplanes and send them to
I'm
Haiti.
not going to pretend that.
And they said they don't have a good claim for asylum.
I'm not going to pretend. First of all, the Haiti situation is extremely difficult because of the quantity of individuals who are coming, and the requirements for asylum in this country typically require particularized nexuses, and a generalized kind of claim of fear of lawlessness typically has not been sufficient to qualify for asylum over the years. That's just the state of our law. If you don't like it, change the law. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, that's what they should be doing.
Apparently, Biden's only processed 1/4 the number of asylum claims as Trump in his first year. So he's just shipping people out without processing them, or what?
So a bunch of stuff to say on that. One is asylum claims under expedited removal typically are not, not as full hearings on the merits as an asylum claim once you're sort of cross the border and cross the threshold of expedited removal. What's more is, as you know, we're seeing a huge influx in the number of non-citizens attempting to cross the border, and our immigration courts are clogged because of the COVID pandemic. Schedules have been pushed back years. I mean, you're hearing merits hearings, if you want to delay that, it's going to be years in the future. Say nothing of scheduling your order. So everything has been pushed back because of the pandemic, something that you guys apparently aren't realizing. And I'm not going to pretend that the Biden's policy on immigration has been perfect, but it's a stark difference. And anyone who is, on the floor dealing with asylees and immigrants would know that.
Well, I guess from my position, right, if it's just because it's slightly better, but it's not perfect, right? I guess my position is it's not good enough, and so you're barely changing anything, and that's why you're just upholding all these
It's not barely changing anything. Maintaining DACA as best you can is not barely changing anything. Getting rid of the travel ban is not barely.
It's like
Trump was getting rid of it.
I know.
Trump was arguing that it was illegal.
Got rid of Obamacare. That didn't make Obamacare great. I mean, just because Trump wanted to undo these things doesn't mean that they were adequate. It just means that he wanted to go in completely the opposite direction. And the fact of the matter is that it's silly to be sitting here saying, these immigration activists, who are down on the border and dealing with this and thinking about this, that they're somehow like, pleased with Biden continuing all this stuff.
They prayed on their knees that Biden won the election. I know because
that's really nice characterization.
None of us prayed, thank God for Biden.
Yeah, you would.
I don't know what to tell you guys. I mean, literally,
Dude, Pisco's not like a right-wing chud or anything. Just a heads up.
Some people literally,
he might have some reactionary views,
as in hope that Biden would win the election, and that perception has been borne out in dramatic changes in administration policy and practice of both.
Okay, but why though?
DHS,
pretty much the whole world wanted Trump to lose that election.
Yeah,
as long as
that's
Trump
not
lost
like
it, it's a win.
No. The reason why people hope for it is because they anticipated changes in policy, which happened, and dramatic changes in policy.
And a lot of
just that, but also prevention of future policies.
Yeah, also prevent. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, prevention of future horrific policies. Those of you guys who didn't want to see a waste of money in the southern border wall, it's another example as well. I don't know what
another reason that the world wanted Trump to lose is because he was an active danger to world security. I just want to point that is an.
There were a lot of reasons why people wanted Trump to lose.
But that was a major contention. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know what
Pisco
is saying.
In the context of immigration cases, asylees, people who wanted asylum. Non-citizens who are in removal proceedings, non-citizens who are applying for relief or status from USCIS. Those individuals wanted Biden in office precisely because they knew that he would change policies. And you guys are mad that we have archaic and horrific laws on the books. That is true. I wish that
you're mad, dude. You're the one that's mad. I mean, he's expressing his opinion. You came in hot.
No, but he doesn't know anything. I mean, he's saying that there's no difference. He's saying there's no difference between Trump on immigration and Biden on immigration. And that's not true. And it's an insult to
I think maybe
policies that Trump imposed upon non-citizens in his administration.
I think he's saying he's disappointed with Biden, that he thought maybe more would happen than it did. I don't want to speak for him, but that's what he said. I'm saying back what I understood.
Biden can't break the law.
Fresh Hank, what do you want Biden to do?
Biden can't break the law. He pontificated on immigration issues, right? Like, oh my God, kids in cages, and then you're like expecting within the first 100 days of office that this guy would fix that, and he didn't. Right.
Biden, we're more than 100 days in at this point, though.
Yeah. Biden went to court.
We're clearly past that.
Biden tried to issue a moratorium on all removal proceedings for like 100+ days, and he was told by federal courts he couldn't do that. I mean, he's trying what he can, but he's limited by the fact that he's not a dictator.
He can't work with two majorities. Is on the left. With a majority in the Senate and the Congress to get this shit done.
No, he can't. Actually, no. I mean, even with because of the filibuster, do you want the filibuster gone?
They do
because of the filibuster.
Yeah,
I mean, I would like the filibuster
historically, it's not the right that uses the filibuster on shit.
I'm not talking about the filibuster as such. I'm not talking about the filibuster as such. But I'm telling you, there are reasons why Congress cannot just, as a political matter, pass a statute utterly changing our immigration laws or granting the president the authority to suspend removal proceedings.
Who do you think is going to do it eventually?
Monetary interests on both sides of the aisle not to do it. That's the problem. There's a vested monetary interest on both sides of the aisle not to do it, and that's why it never gets done. It's basic.
I think what we can all agree on. Wait. I think we can all agree that like politicians don't have our best interests in mind, right? And it's clear as day, especially on immigration, that they're not doing shit. They're just like pontificating to us. Oh my God, look what's going on at the border. And then as soon as you put them in office, they don't do what you voted them in for.
I mean, talk
right? I think we can come to terms. Freaking two sides unite. unanimous.
They do. It gets them reelected.
Unfortunately, we have a huge disagreement in this country on the merits about what we should do with immigration. I mean, it's a hugely divisive issue, and the result is we have a divided Congress. If you don't like that, you don't like
them all in, but make them citizens.
That's bully for you, but you know,
this is what
unfortunately, a lot of people disagree with you.
So instead,
a lot of people disagree with you, and
a lot of people that don't.
No, everybody loves immigrants as second-class citizens, and that's the problem. They love immigrants as second-class citizens because it's work that they can exploit and let go at will. They can treat them like shit, and they have no way to petition anybody for help. And that's the truth. And you know what? Until that changes, we're always going to be in this position, and we need to change that.
Pisco.
You got to streamline the process. Let them all in.
What I want to understand is, so your previous point is that President Biden, President Biden is under statutory obligations, and he can't just do like whatever he wants, right? Like in terms of immigration, executing immigration law. But there is like executive discretion, correct? Right? That's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, there are literally parts of the law. First of all, we have agencies that have tremendous power on immigration. These proceedings, removal proceedings, are all civil proceedings, and they proceed in usually housed in the Department of Justice. And so, literally, the Attorney General can write opinions that change substantive immigration law. And obviously, who Biden chooses to seat in these immigration judge positions affects how these cases are going to turn out. If you have a bunch of Trump appointees, what do y'all think is going to happen in terms of the merits hearings and the standards that are going to be applied, as opposed to a bunch of Biden officials there? The use of things like administrative closure, other type of remedies, administrative remedies that can be used to put off cases or help asylees or help non-citizens in removal proceedings. That's a lot of power is in the executive branch of this government. But that said, Biden cannot he's tried to push the limits. He tried to issue a moratorium on removal proceedings. That was struck down. I'm
gonna have a really whack take from the right wing.
He's trying to maintain DACA, but that's in jeopardy as well. And in the federal courts. And so really what we need is legislative solutions, and Biden's hands are tied. He can barely get his party, and maybe not even, to agree to a bipartisan infrastructure deal. That's how divided this country and government is.
To a reconciliation.
A reconciliation, right? And now you want him to start a comprehensive immigration reform or any other kind of immigration reform. His hands are tied, and you know, I'm not going to give him cover for everything he's done, but you guys are blaming him for way too much.
Are you finished?
I don't know. Trump did a lot of the executive orders. I don't know if Biden is using that as much.
What do you want Biden to do?
Can I go now?
Biden is doing that.
Hold on one second. Go ahead, Crunch.
All right, I'm gonna have a wacky take from the right wing. I think we should make them all citizens, streamline the process, and then they'll pay taxes the same way
great.
everybody
Congress
else
decides.
does.
That's great. Congress decides.
Is that a huge issue? You think that's a shit
Congress
take?
decides.
I think that's very inconsistent with the Republican leadership's position. I agree with that.
Republican leadership doesn't speak for everybody. Just like you guys have leftists and communists and a bunch of other shit, right? The right wing has their own fucking sex too.
The right wing.
Has anyone here read their constitution? Who has the power of naturalization? Someone tell me.
Pisco, they don't argue about
you're the lawyer. Read that
Congress has the power to naturalize individuals to become citizens, and Biden doesn't just have the authority to do that. There have been arguments that he could grant, I don't know, some kind of instant status to a bunch of people, but that would not be the same as citizenship. And there's a lot of problems there.
Wait. DACA was done through an executive order, wasn't it?
What was done with executive order?
Yeah, but it's always on the fucking blotter.
DACA was done. Yes, that was, but that's not the reason why DACA is arguably legal, is because it's not giving any official status. It's
always threatened every fucking presidency.
Right.
So
they tell you
we do something to kick that out a little bit? I mean, we're already creating.
I want to streamline.
The reason why DACA
I feel like we
legal,
focus on small issues. I want to streamline the immigration process as a whole to make it easier for people to come here.
We got that.
That's great. And I want $1 billion, and we all want stuff. what I'm trying to tell you is DACA. The reason why DACA is legal is because it doesn't offer substantive status to people who are protected by it. You don't have an entitlement to stay in the country, and so we are on the loosest ways trying to keep these people in the country, and that's kind of how it's been until we get some kind of congressional action. And meanwhile, don't just sit there and criticize Biden for things he can't change. You can criticize him for things that he is doing. Maybe you can criticize him. Cohn-Bone was criticizing him for maintaining the pandemic regulation that's allowing for the expedited kind of. What's that?
Title 42, right?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yes. So maybe that's a genuine criticism. I'm not a virologist, so I don't know what the health benefits are versus the humanitarian benefits.
I will tell you that there wasn't, right? No, I will tell you that's straight up bullshit. There wasn't because we have people crossing the border all the time. Like we have thousands of people, like tens of thousands of people crossing that border just regularly for like not just like not even immigration, just crossing the U.S.-Mexico border for trade or for doing work, right? Like if that's a major point of infection, and that's where you would start is with those people who do so every single fucking day, right? But to start with the most vulnerable and say, oh, those people, yeah, like the people who need help coming into this country to immigrate, they are a vector of disease. That's first of all like the most racist, bigoted thing, like that one of the original bigoted things you would do against people who are immigrating, right? Say they're carriers of disease. So that's what they're doing now. And so no, like you don't have to.
I haven't read. Listen, you guys probably know more about the merits and the detriments of that policy more than I do. So I'm not going to sit here and talk about a policy which I haven't read about a ton about. But I will say on everything else, on most everything else, Biden has been an incredible improvement over Trump.
I mean, and I want to say before, because I was attacking him earlier. Yeah. Just because I was discussing Title 42 earlier. I do think there are some parts of the immigration process that he has improved. I think that the kids in cages issue, I think he alleviated it a little bit to some regard. I'm pretty sure they're no longer in cages and they're actually like being sent home. But with like things like Title 42, there is still some pretty disgusting, I'm pretty sure, executive actions that could be repealed that he hasn't really gotten around to, especially with public health. And I think the issue with Title 42 is now we literally have the cure. Like in the present day, we have the vaccine for the disease that they're so worried about to an extent where they're banning asylum seekers just by the chance that they'll have this disease.
Yeah, but they're not. It's not banning that many from coming in.
We just
quantity doesn't matter. What are you talking about?
600,000 people under Biden's administration alone. What?
How many people came
not
in?
That many.
How many people? No, you're ignorant. How many people came in general over that same time period? You don't know. Well, you can look it up.
Wait. We can compare it to like Donald Trump's use of Title 42. More than 1.1 million migrants were expelled under Trump with Title 42, and if Joe Biden is, what was the number, 600,000? As a Democrat, I'm concerned. Now, this isn't saying that they're equal, but this is a flaw in the way Biden's running immigration. What the fuck do you mean? How do I know? I read this shit.
The policy exists for a reason. Do you not think?
Wait, I'm not scared of migrants carrying COVID if you're concerned about that. I'm much more concerned about my fucking neighbors. Okay, we're in America.
About large swaths of people with COVID-19 entering the country?
We're in fucking
You're assuming that because they're entering the country they have COVID. That's a horrible freaking generalization.
I would say that it could be a good idea to have some different process for these types of people now.
My dude, I live in Florida. I live in Florida. I should be able to go wherever the fuck I want in America, even though Florida is like the hot zone. Okay, so like the idea of we're gonna limit people because of where they're from is fucking silly.
I mean, I don't think it's silly. I might not agree with it, but it seems like a pretty reasonable policy.
No, not at all. Like COVID's already here. Like COVID, like.
So we should. So it doesn't matter if we allow more.
America's just infinitely worse when it comes to COVID than any of those countries.
Wait. So you think this policy is unimaginable? It's unimaginable to you that we would have a policy to avoid letting in more.
Hold on. We vaccinate people that come into this country and get naturalized. So what are you talking about?
Again, on the regular, right? We let people in. We don't check people's vaccination statuses as they're coming through that border, right? Like we just let these people in, and here they are, right? They're working within there. We can't slow down that border. So much commerce comes through that border all the time, every
That doesn't
day.
mean we shouldn't try. Just because it's impossible to stop it all, we shouldn't try.
No.
If you go to El Paso, that would destroy their economy. Like, are you kidding me?
That is being exacerbated. Comparing that to the human misery that's being exacerbated, that's where the problem comes in, right? Like, if there was no cost to it at all, right, then maybe I would agree with you. Okay, okay, well, sure, why not? Slow it down, right? Slow COVID down. I don't know how you do that in a country that's so anti-vax and anti-mask. I don't know, but whatever. But yeah, sure, why not? But there is a cost. There's a human cost.
Wait, what is the cost?
That's being
wait. Can the people reapply right after they at the end of their COVID cycle?
Oh, that's really important. That's really important to talk about. People's ability to apply. In a 58-page ruling by the U.S. District Court Judge Emmett Sullivan, found that Title 42 does not authorize the expulsion of immigrants, and in turn does not allow for those removed to be denied the opportunity to seek asylum. They are currently, like under Trump, being denied the ability to seek asylum. That is a flaw of the Biden administration's immigration policy, and as a good old Democrat myself, I would like to see that change. And I think it's reasonable to point out, like, the shit that's going on. Well, according to the courts, is illegal.
That's fine. I mean, that's a fine criticism, and to be honest, on any given day, I'm probably going to side with you guys that even if it were a significant increase in risk of COVID transmission, I would do the trade-off of processing these legal claims for asylum any day of the week, typically, unless there's some substantial amount of evidence that these people are transmitting more of the virus or something like that, which I think Prime is saying is discriminatory and not true. The only thing is the concept of this conversation is the transition between Biden and Trump. And why we're talking about this is because Fresh and Cartel said there's like no difference in the policies between Trump and Biden, and that needs to be
I disagree with what he said. There is a huge difference, if that's what is being said. Definitely a huge difference, but the Biden administration is looking like it's going to be like the Obama administration, if not worse, when it comes to deportation, in my opinion.
When we're talking about between Obama and Trump, I don't think there's any question that Obama's immigration policy was, mixed record for sure, but certainly better than Trump's, and Biden's will be as well. And that's what we're talking about here is the comparison. Yes, Biden could be way better on immigration, and I think Congress ought to be way better. But what he can't do, and what you shouldn't expect him to do as a political matter and as a legal matter, is to just stop overseeing the border, to stop enforcing immigration law. He's not going to do that, and you shouldn't expect him to do that.
Yeah, I agree that he shouldn't stop enforcing the border, but he also shouldn't be preventing people. He should also, as president of the United States, work very hard to stop the illegal practice of preventing people from even getting to apply for asylum. And there's no way we're going to get to the point where he does that unless people are willing to criticize him. Now, I disagree with calling him equal to Trump, but I think it's important to have these discussions.
That's very fair.
Pointing out his flaws. Yeah.
No, that's fair.
Well, I feel like the goal here is, it's like, well, fucking Trump was worse than me, so I don't have to do anything, right? Like, that's not a good cop-out for anything. We need to fucking streamline the process. I'm not
Democrats
saying that anybody.
all the
Okay.
I'm literally debating here.
The only problem with all of this is
you should let me finish instead of putting some weird ideology on me because I identify a certain label, right? I think we should streamline the process, make it easier for everybody to come to the country. You keep interrupting me. I'm speaking. Please.
Finish up.
Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time, Pisco. What I'm saying is we need to come together, right and left, right? Because this shit's not going to get done when we're like, oh, I need to own the right or I need to own the left, right? This is the issue that we can all agree on needs to get freaking consolidated and fixed. So,
I don't know if a lot of Republicans
for politicians that care about immigration, right? We got to get politicians that care about this issue especially, right? That cannot vote on party lines and come together and come with an agreement that makes sense to where people can be citizens, pay taxes, whatever, and everybody's happy, which is completely possible, especially in immigration.
I think there are a lot of Republicans who do not want to
Good
turn
luck
them
with
into
that, buddy.
citizens.
I Crunch Lord, I love it. I love you. I mean, I totally agree that we should come to some absolute.
What you're about to say right now is
agreement.
why it doesn't happen.
No,
right? Exactly. Like exactly what you're gonna say right now is why the shit doesn't happen. It's it's fucking in a fantasy world. This would be great, but blah blah blah. Like you vote out people that don't agree with you politically, right? There's plenty of us that agree that immigration is an issue that we need to resolve.
Absolutely.
Right? And we can
have
vote for people that
a
don't pontificate and actually do what we vote them for.
I'm sorry,
but
people
you also have a lot of single issue voters,
Are
though.
Republicans not the isolationist party?
They literally are, but like you have a lot of single issue voters who quite literally vote on issues that are not about immigration, or you just have hateful people who don't want immigrants in here, and then you get the Republican. And this is just me based off of my political experience. You have Republicans who actively want to demonize people who are not white.
Yeah,
typically those are immigrants.
Yeah, and
so you vote those people out.
Okay,
well, good luck with that. They're going to win the next, probably the next legislative elections. I mean,
yeah, you can replace them with another
That's
race.
the reason why Tucker Carlson's so popular.
All I mean to say is, Crunchlow, I agree with your ambitions that there should be some great compromise, and I think that there's things that we can compromise on. DACA being one of them, the Dreamers, right? Another one maybe could be increased. I don't know. In exchange for that, increased border security of some kind. Although some people might think that's a waste of money. I think there's compromise that we could come to. But the other side is
language,
and we shouldn't.
Language is very important.
What you drinking?
Right?
What you smoking?
We demonize the
I'm all
other
about
side
this
like
shit.
they're a bunch of fucking racists, and they only want white people to come in, right? You know, like we're not talking about Trump. We're talking about Republicans right now, right? We demonize other people based on labels instead of like, hey, I think if we streamline the whole process, we make it a shorter time to claim citizenship. Asylum is a lot easier to do, right? We get them social security cards and everything else so they can pay taxes, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to cut no more extra money out of your pocket. Like we have to phrase these things in a way that makes sense.
You're infantilizing them. I mean, they have differences of substantive position that you're not acknowledging. You're telling them it's all about the message that for which it's displayed. No.
I think what you think is that the whole right wing is like morons like CTV, right? There are regular conservatives out there that know how to read.
No,
you know,
that's what
like
you
I don't
think.
understand.
That's what you think. You just said that if we package these plans in more like polite tones,
we got to explain shit to people. Not everyone has a college degree in fucking law school and stuff and knows everything that you're saying. You have to package these things for different groups. That's how it's always been throughout history.
You're the one who's saying that these people are essentially babies that are just they're listening to people who call them nice names. They have a difference.
Well, it's both sides. Position. You have to. Language is important. It's always been important, and it's for both sides.
No one's denying that.
The right wing versus left wing thing.
No one's denying that language matters. I just want to get this out, Prime. That they have differences in substantive position. Republicans, one of their major issues is they want to decrease immigration. They want to cap immigration at some absurdly low level, or they want to even prevent the Dreamers from having status.
Well, that's because of right-wing alarmism.
Okay. All right. So we gotta.
True. Right? Like that's because they're being told fear, right? Taught fear on Fox News and shit.
Oh my God! Sorry, we've been. Yep. Someone donated to meet you. It's just. So hold on. Someone donated to meet you. Sorry. But I do want to continue on with this conversation. So, Fresh Ink, what other ways you brought up? And I've been trying to get to you. I swear to God, I've been trying to get to you. You brought up that you thought Biden, or you thought that Biden was failing in some ways, and that Trump not clearing the bar that Trump set. And what other ways is that the case?
His weakness in the response to the BLM protest. I think he's kind of been too wishy-washy. So he puts himself forward as again, I voted for Biden because of somebody who isn't allowed to vote asked me to, and I think the position that he puts himself as I'm going to be combating Trump's racism, I'm going to be doing more humane things at the border, he falls short on every degree. So I think it's fair in my assessment of somebody who didn't have a representative in the federal election. It's no, I think because he's continuing what is traditionally just American foreign American immigration policies, that he's still worse because he's just upholding these traditions.
He's worse than Trump.
Is that his fault, or is it the rest of Congress who doesn't vote?
No, can I hear you say that Biden is worse than Trump on immigration?
Biden is worse than Trump on immigration.
Huh. I don't know
what you know.
What worlds? I mean, we just had this long discussion talking about different policies in reverse.
Again, I'm saying that he's worse because he's upholding. Like,
so was Trump. Trump was upholding every part.
But who
of
came after?
Nice,
but who came at? But who came after who? Like Biden came after Trump. So he's. It's not like.
So. I mean, Trump, at the very least, they're equal, right? If all you care about is maintaining the status quo, neither of which Biden or Trump or even Trump could change, given majorities in Congress, at the most, they're equal in, quote, maintaining the laws. Not that the executive can just change law like a federal statute.
Okay, but if you just could, the longer you continue, the more you're complicit in it, is my position.
Wow. So that's your immigration analysis is, did they change the laws, a power that Biden doesn't have? He can't do that unilaterally. I mean, he's only been in office.
I didn't say that he has to do it unilaterally, but he's the guy at the top. He needs to do the work to like try to find something.
But we don't look at any executive actions. I mean, you're not looking at any executive actions. You just cited executive actions.
You told me all the executive. You all told me the executive actions that he did that are objectively good, and I still agree with that. But like,
he's still worse.
He's done it.
I mean, he's made things better than Trump, but somehow he's worse than Trump. I mean, how do you square that circle? He's made things significantly better. I mean, would you agree with that or not?
What provokes you about
You would not agree that Biden has made significant improvements?
I would say he's marginally improved the condition for immigrants coming to this country.
So marginally improved. So someone who is marginally improved immigration in the policy in this country is worse than Trump. Someone who's improved from Trump. Just on like the logic there.
Because you're taking half steps to appease like a voting population. You're not actually like trying to address the issue. You're just trying to make people that voted for you happy.
In comparison to what? No steps?
In comparison,
in other words, he's doing the minimal amount that he can. Given what's expected of him, he's doing the minimal amount, and they're trying to perpetuate as much as they can. That's what he's saying, because they voted in a different administration. During the campaign, he was talking about how disgusting the Trump policies were. He comes in, people are expecting things, at least the talk of things or the planning
like
of
reverse
something.
Policies, right? It would be really weird if he didn't reverse policies, right? It would be really weird if Biden came in office and didn't
that's it. But what's he? You're right. So some of those things were so abhorrent that he reversed them. But I find sending all those people back to Haiti, a lot of them hadn't been there in a decade. I thought that was abhorrent. Not on the same scale, but it's abhorrent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's two different conversations though, because one conversation is like there's huge and reasonable critiques for Joe Biden's handling of immigration. But then the other conversation is that Joe Biden is somehow worse than Donald Trump. So one of them is
he repeated it. Sorry, he reaffirmed it.
Yeah, for sure. And I strongly disagree with that idea. And I'm saying this kind of, I'm the perspective as someone that is a child of immigrants. Donald Trump's much worse, and I wouldn't even say it's marginally better. It's just much better. Having DACA protected is amazing. But the conversation about like Biden's huge immigration flaws is super important to have, but these are very different conversations in different areas of.
I mean, Prime wants us to get off immigration and just talk about other areas in which Trump was like better or equal to Biden. But I mean, how much further? If he can't even acknowledge that Biden is better on immigration, I mean, where is this conversation going?
No, I told you why. You're not accepting my. You're not accepting that
your analysis.
My analysis that he's exactly. You're not accepting it. So
it's not that we're not accepting it. We're trying to deal with this, trying to grapple with it. And you're saying that this man is worse. You acknowledge that he's made things marginally better, but still he's worse. Like, I don't know how that math works.
Well, it's because he's not personally taking these steps because he's trying to solve the immigration issue. Like in America.
Sorry, what do you know? Let's say that you're absolutely true in terms of his intentions. What difference does that make if he's actually made things better?
Because if he was actually trying to make things better, I feel like there would have been like a front and center pressing issue, just shoved down everybody's throats into Congress until it got enacted. Because I honestly think somebody in the position of the president has the influence to eventually get whatever the fuck they want done.
How's that going right now? I mean, it's a disaster right now. The Democrats, they're absolutely in shambles right now at like supposedly the most across the aisle, most non-controversial thing is this bipartisan infrastructure bill. And you really think that Biden would have better results if he had just come through and said, legalize everyone and have comprehensive immigration reform at the gate? Like, how would that even? And also, they tried to include that in their reconciliation. They were shot down by the parliamentarian.
No, he's
the parliamentarian.
Fire the parliamentarian.
Ignore the parliamentarian.
Socialism.
Yeah, so I think what he's saying is worse, though, right, Pisco? Fresh ink, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're saying that. So what Pisco was saying that he has a whole policy agenda, and that would have been thrown off if he had come in and with the very highly leftist take, right?
0% chance of that passing. Let me say 0.
Exactly, right?
Not with that attitude.
What he's saying is that whatever it is, whatever his policy is, that if Biden truly wants it, then it's going to happen. I would say look at, for instance, the Obama administration.
Look at Obama.
Look at all of them. I don't see where there's evidence that just because a president dearly wants something, and maybe something that I hate, but dearly wants something, even when they have Congress behind them, that they necessarily get it.
Obama dearly wanted. Wait a second, Prime. I remember you in previous panels saying the exact opposite.
Me?
Yeah.
No. I did not say the exact opposite. So I was going to get to this, right? I didn't say that. I said that a president, right, has the ability to use the bully pulpit to attempt to pass the things that they want, right? To force members of Congress as best they can, right? So to put pressure, basically I'm saying put pressure on Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. That's what I'm getting to, right? That's what I was
100%.
always talking about. But I made it clear, even when I was saying that, like using carrots and sticks, right? Using various ways to make their lives uncomfortable or better, right? That even then he can still fail, right? Like just because he wants to desperately and using literally all the political tools available to him doesn't necessarily mean he'll win. But I think he for certain policies he can certainly put up a much better.
He picks his battles. Prime wants him to pick his battles. He doesn't want him to. I mean, am I understanding you correctly, Prime? You don't want Biden to push Manchin and Sinema, or do you want him to on Medicare for all right now?
Medicare for all, no. Medicare for all. I mean, like that'd be a waste. Just Biden Sinema. I mean, there's a lot of other people not going to vote for that too. So pick your battles, of course. Medicare for all right now is just not right. We're not in position to do that at this very moment. But So what he was saying, and William, I see your hand. I will get to you. If Fresh Ink, you're saying that you can get whatever you want. How is that the case if you're a president? How do you think that's possible?
What I'm saying, okay, so when I say get whatever you wanted, I'm meaning is pressing a single issue until it just goes through. Like I think there's enough political sway, within the Democrats who put him onto the primary, right? That you can just
you want him to be more progressive
than he is. You understand that he has 1,000 different issues to deal with at once, right?
Yeah.
So he has to choose. Is that
again
the
from my
most
visit? But one of the primary things I focus on is immigration. I frankly,
but he's trying that right now. I mean, the reason why your argument fails is he's trying that right now. Every tool in his toolbox on something much less divisive, and that's his infrastructure plan. And
I don't think that he's using every tool in his toolbox.
Man, we're going back and forth about this.
I want to just say,
fucking bullshit, dude. Can we
if somebody is affected around you and something is happening to a gross injustice is happening to one person or 3 people or people in your community and so on and so forth,
this is a problem that I have often with these panels, is that we're all supposed to be like experts and thinking like experts. Like like whatever I think Biden ought to do or ought not to do strategically is important. Like it's never going to get to their ears. It's not important. What's important is if you want to have a set of just policies, and you can't win on each thing. You definitely, like, let's say Biden is like, his hands are tied. He can't do, he just can't get through the hurdles to please immigration activists or whatever. Then if he really believed them and he couldn't get those things through, then he would expect and understand that there would be frustration among people to whom this issue is important. Because here's the thing. These things are happening to us. They're like for instance, all the COVID deaths, like they happen to us. They happen to people we know. And our job is not to be strategists. Our job is to communicate what's happening in our communities and what it is we desire out of our government. And that's it. So I don't give a shit about their strategy, or if he can, I'll hear about that later. I'm not trying to say Biden is a terrible person. He is going to have to balance things out and so on and so forth. But that's that's like happening on Mount Olympus. That's not happening with me. But what matters is what's happening, more important, that I can focus on and relate to, is what's happening to people at the border, And I think that you could turn your attention to a million things. You could get exhausted thinking about all of the people who have, claims for justice and reparations. It's mind-blowing, but at the same time that doesn't make it any less important, and it doesn't make it any less important that people pressure. Like if I was a politician and I believed in the things that I was supporting, and some of them could be realistic, some of them are down the road, right? I want the population behind me, as many people as possible, and if I'm not working in their interest and I'm working on behalf of lobbyists or whatever, so on and so forth, then you don't want people. I mean, you want people to get behind your bullshit.
I'm hitting them with because they paid to mute me. I'm hitting them with like, go ahead, King, get your fucking capitalism worth. Like that's based.
You're unmuted now. You're unmuted now.
Oh shit.
Sorry.
I didn't know. I'm sorry.
No, that's
Wait,
fine.
what did I do?
No, King William, finish a point. I'm not sure if you did.
I did. I finished
before that, I'm just gonna say good night. I gotta go to bed. Adios.
GN Street.
That's a fair point, King of William. But two things on that. One is taken to its extreme. It's almost like you're implying. I know you must not be that we shouldn't have been having these conversations because it's on Mount Olympus. Why even discuss what's going on in Biden's head or these macro policies? The fact of the matter is we're having this conversation because someone made the unfortunate statement that Trump is worse than Biden on immigration. And the second is, I absolutely think that it's not mutually exclusive with a conversation to pressure Biden. And that is fair game as well. And so I don't think that these conversations about comparisons are worthless. It's useful to lay out what has happened and what the state of things are. And if someone is trying to tell you things that are obviously not true, which is the state of immigration law is worse, or that somehow the person overseeing that horrific immigration policy was better on immigration than what we're seeing now, it's your job and responsibility to call that out and to reward people who make improvements on others' lives, not to punish them.
Yeah, but fuck Joe Manchin. Fuck Kristen Sinema. 100%.
Agree. Yeah, agree. And you know what? I think when they're like that and they stonewall people, approach them wherever you can, whenever you can, and make their lives incredibly uncomfortable. That's where I'm at with it. I mean, no civility for people who aren't going to be civil. You know what I'm saying? You got to earn that shit. You got to earn respect.
But Joe Manchin is doing what he thinks is
activism, baby.
Okay, he's a senator. A senator could vote for a war, and that could be what they want. But I don't give a fuck. They should still be pressured by their constituents.
What I'm saying is he's doing what he thinks his constituents want. He wants to get reelected. That's his goal.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not what.
But there's been polling suggests that's not what his constituents want.
A lot of it is doing what his corporate donors want to do too.
So we have to remember that. Are we talking about Joe Manchin? He's in West Virginia, right? Yeah. Just like freaking Maryland has, like in my state, we have a Republican governor called Hogan, and he's kind of more of a Democrat, right? Because that's what his constituency wants.
So hold on. What does the constituency actually want? What do they actually disagree with? Do they disagree with parts of this bill? Right? Like, are they opposed, saying they disagree with?
It's hard to tell. This is what politics is figuring this out. Joe Manchin next election could get voted out if he does something that's unpopular. But I think to just say like,
hold on, I'm not just saying anything. I'm asking, right? So like the people here are just saying, well, these things are unpopular with his constituents, right? And is that the reason why he's doing it, or does he have other entanglements that would also weigh on him? Like I hate this idea that politicians are simply avatars of their constituents that they perfectly represent.
That's their main goal. There's other parts.
They should be.
Obviously,
hold on. How do you know any individual's main goal? Right? Everyone has like different goals.
I can only guess based on
if that was the case, right? Then you could perfectly predict all politicians' actions through these polls. Right? Yeah, exactly.
No, the polls don't necessarily.
Why would we need the politicians at all if we could just directly do it through the polls, right? The people say this, then we enact it. That's not
the polls don't perfectly reflect the reality.
Hold on. Let me finish, and you can respond. I want to hear what you have to say. But no, they don't perfectly respond. If that was the case, right? For instance, we have quote unquote common sense gun legislation, right? There was that point where it's like 90% of the population, like a 90-10 issue. These
kind is. We're still at that point.
Exactly. These are very milquetoast gun regulations, and they still haven't been put in place, right? Because once again, what?
I would go sorry.
Politicians are not perfect avatars of exactly what the constituents want, right? Or maybe they are of like a certain sect of the constituency, their constituency, because that sect is more vocal than anyone else, right? And when it comes to
like cinema, they don't give a shit.
There's a vocal minority within the. I'm not even bringing in the monetary part, and I have feelings on that. But there is for gun debate, like there is a very vocal pro-gun minority, right? If the rest of their constituency says that they want gun reform, gun restrictions, right? But this very vocal minority convinces them otherwise, then that's what's going to happen.
No, but there are things
Wait, where is this vocal gun minority exist? Like, are we talking about just West Virginia? Because I guarantee
don't focus
you that there's not a minority.
Don't focus on the policy point.
Guns.
Focus on what Prime is saying. He's not trying to get in the weeds on a conversation about the actual proportions of people who support gun control or not. He's making a broader point about whether or not politicians are perfect avatars of their constituencies. I agree somewhat with a broader point with what you're saying, Prime. A couple of modulations. I like what you said about the fact that the opinion polls are not one-to-one because there are certain constituencies that might matter more. For instance, if you're polling everyone, including children, right, they're not going to care about children because they don't vote. Another consideration is that the policy proposal as put in the opinion poll is not analogous to whatever's going to end up as legislation just because it's not the same policy or because the way it's spun later on. And then finally, you have to consider the time horizon here. Just because something is popular right now, the politician may be taking a bet that down the line, it's not going to be so popular and they don't want to be hurt by it and they don't want to take a risk. And so while I agree with you, they're not one-to-one avatars, there are things that explain divergences if you believe they are one-to-one avatars by the things I just mentioned.
Can I respond?
I think Manchin. I don't think Manchin is a direct representation of West Virginia, right? Like if they were a direct avatar of what West Virginia was like, I don't think he would be a Democrat. He would be like some weird Republican. But
okay, great.
Yeah. I imagine there was something. I'd have to look into it, but I imagine the Republican that ran against Manchin was probably super crazy, and that's probably why Manchin won.
Walking on sunshine. This had been responding to you, so please.
Okay, so what I was going to say is that there are other. I agree. I wouldn't say anything like you could simply just poll the people that are going to vote for them, and then he does everything they do. There are obviously other things, and probably even financial things that are involved. Maybe they're thinking of their career in the future. A lot of senators, when they get to their last few terms, they start to get more into what they really believe in. You could say their underlying beliefs. They'll vote for, like John McCain voting against repealing the ACA. You do see things that their constituents might not want, or that their fellow senator didn't vote in the same way. But the overall point is that, generally speaking, they will try to follow what their constituents want just because they have to do that to get reelected. They want to get reelected.
He just made a great point that I hope you guys haven't missed, which is if you're going to present the option that the politicians are just wholly corrupt, and that's an okay option to present if you want that. I'm not saying that you presented it, Prime. I'm not saying that they're perfectly corrupt. I'm saying if you're going to present the notion, or you're going to flirt with the notion there's some corruption, you should also, as a matter of, I think, consistency, flirt with the notion that they just think that this is in the best interest of the country. I think you're obliged to consider both of those situations. And so I think
but either argument, either position is not one that says that they are perfect avatars of their constituents, as Prime said.
Yes.
And also, I would say that they will only play to the base that's likely to vote for them, right? Like, you're not going to see fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene trying to play to her Democrat constituents.
Which is mostly the middle class and upper middle class people, by the way, that vote. Poor people don't vote nearly as much, so they're not represented as much.
But I also think what Viv implied there was another wonderful point, was that also for primaries, if you can take Vivian's statement and the constituencies that vote for you, you're not just worried about the general. You're also worried, if you're Marjorie Taylor Greene or someone else, about a primary challenger. And so you might be thinking in that context as well, where the denominator is not everyone in your state, but all the Republicans in your state.
I was just going to say, I don't see that happening in some places, but I hear you.
Let's go to Nathan and then Kobe.
I never expect a politician to be a perfect arbiter of the people. It's just when something's so universal, it should probably be a good indicator that a certain policy should be passed. And we should see the general trend being that popular policies get passed. Though, of course, they're not a perfect representation of the people. But with Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin in particular, I think it's reasonable to assume that it's not just them believing in it with the goodness of their heart that, oh, well, these policies are going to help hurt America, guys. So I just really got to, like, I'm trying to do that Cy Kuno voice. I just really got to go vote against it. You feel me? But no, Kristen Sinema took $750,000 from fucking medical firms. She's here for the fucking wealth. She ran throughout her career beforehand as a fairly progressive and activist individual. The people that knew her don't even know who the fuck is in the Senate right now, because it's not like the person they knew. Joe Manchin has taken he's made $500,000 on fucking coal stocks. He's a coal baron. He has direct incentive to be against the environmental provisions of the.
So does West Virginia.
Of the thing.
So does West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Actually, their coal plants are dying out right now. They're actually losing jobs because their coal plants are tanking. So
it would be important for West Virginia to. It would probably be more beneficial in the long run if West Virginia were to diversify its economy and maybe invest in something like green energy. But that's besides the point. But that's besides the point. People should think in the long run, especially our politicians, especially our government officials. They should.
It's their job to sell it to people. That's the thing.
Real quick. I want to hear what you're gonna say. Red person walking on sunshine. Sorry, I didn't see your name. It's not like Joe Manchin governs based on what's fucking popular either. Because you say like, oh, West Virginia doesn't like the environmental things, so that's why he's not doing it, or they have reason to not like it, that's why he's not doing it. Well, West Virginians also, like the entire country, support the $15 minimum wage to the tune of 60% to 30%, but he also didn't support that. So he's not interested in representation of people. He's interested in representation of his. Of the corporations that he literally directly has investments in.
The people who
walking
give
on
him
sunshine.
money.
What were you going to say?
I feel like one thing that you're kind of missing in your analysis is that if you've ever taken an econ class, I don't know how many of you went to college, but you know that a lot of the time it's not what is going on that affects the person, it's what they perceive to be going on. So just because you might, I feel like you're missing that though. So when you say, when you say, oh, it's because, this isn't the reality of what's going on in Arizona or West Virginia, well, that is probably the reality that Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin believe is going on. So they believe...
What do they believe? Yeah, okay.
They probably believe that their constituents don't support the policies that they're voting against.
They probably don't.
Well, I don't know about that because the boots on the ground here say otherwise, and polling suggests otherwise.
So your theory is that they are voting just with the corporations?
When you get $750,000 from pharma, you're going to vote against Medicaid.
Money because they knew they were going to vote against it. It was probably something that they knew that the senator would probably be against.
Have you ever looked at Kirsten Sinema's record? Have you ever looked at Kirsten Sinema's record? This is so far outside of her record. That is absolutely insane that you would make that point.
Okay,
that makes no sense to you.
Point.
It doesn't make sense because Kristen Sinema has a record of being fairly progressive. She has statements against the filibuster, for instance. She attacked, I believe, Harry Reid for maintaining the filibuster. Meanwhile, in her pivotal moment in her career, she voted to maintain the filibuster. There was no indication necessarily that she was going to switch out on her entire political ideology. So it's not like these people knew in advance that they were going to get a fraud. They had to ensure that they were going to get a fraud, so they gave the fraud money to get that.
So wait, you think it's like 1,000,000% likely that they went to her and they were like, "Hey, you're going to do us a political favor." But the idea that they went to her,
if you saw the flip, Jesus Christ, dude,
he's got to be able to finish his sentence.
So that idea is easy to you, but the idea that they went to her and asked her, "Hey, how do you feel about this issue?" She said, "Oh, I roughly agree with you guys," and they're like, "Okay, that's good enough for us," and they donated to her. That's impossible to you?
I mean, it's possible, but even in that situation, okay, so I'm a politician, all right? An oil company goes up to me and says, "Hey, so we were just kind of wondering if you like oil subsidies, because oil subsidies are kind of cool. Is that something that matters to you?" And you're like, you know what, BP? You know what, Exxon? I think it's really important to keep the oil industry going well. Well, you can see how being approached by a corporation isn't just something someone expects on a usual day. There's probably something to get out of it. And in many cases, they do get something out of it. In the case of Manchin, he has literal, direct investments in fucking the coal industry. It's how he makes his money.
His son owns an industry, an energy company, I think. I can't remember specifically what it is, but I know his son owns it.
Article from Business Insider, article from The Guardian, many articles showing that he has made $500,000. He's made $500,000 a year. $500,000 a year on coal stocks.
Yeah, so but is that him investing it, or does he have like a blind trust because he's a congressperson?
A blind trust, I believe, is run by his close friend, or like he put in a blind trust, but it's run by his friend. So.
It's essentially run
still
by insider trading.
Going on. He's like, I got a blind trust. That was run by.
It's a you're implying that they're like communicating, and he's supporting policies that.
Don't Pisco, don't leave.
I have to. I've worked on it.
I love you, buddy. Thanks for
love you
being
guys.
here.
Have a good one.
Good night, Pisco.
Yeah. So, am I implying that they're communicating when you give your friend?
No. I'm saying you didn't let me finish. Sorry. Because Pisco was leaving. I was saying, are you implying that they're communicating about the stocks and that he's like picking policies based on that?
I don't know, man. If I'm making $500,000 on stocks, on stocks and coal, am I going to want to have a Green New Deal or just any green energy program to move away from dependency on coal when it directly would lower the money that's going into my pocket?
Are you talking about Pelosi right now?
It might have
I'm against all politicians owning stocks.
Pick a senator, and you can see that.
I think Pelosi's made like a fuck ton of money off of stock in California. I think it's 69%.
That's a lot of politicians.
Let's go to Kobe, Eucharist, and Chaotic.
Hello, everybody. I don't want to stay for too long because I have work tomorrow. But I wanted to come on. What's that?
Fuck work.
I know, right? I wish. No, it's actually my job is fun. Hold on. I'm just making sure. Okay. I just want to make sure I was on the right mic. So the reason I want to come on was because I think that we have to remember that, like, at the end of the day, I actually do think that politicians are relatively swayed by, like, at least the interests of the people in their district. Even if you think the only interest are just happen to be the local rich people, okay, then it's the different local rich people. There's weird there's weird crawfish billionaires in Louisiana, and there's coal billionaires in West Virginia. I just wanted to look up. There's one I look up a couple things. So the first one is, this is like my big go-to. Hold on, I'll link it here. This is a thing done by 548. This is my big thing about, like, politicians do tend to try at least to keep their promises. It looks like about 60% is the average going back to 1968. You can look this up. It's about a third of the way down the page. And but I think that like towards the top of this page, something like caught my eye, which I think is like kind of like central to this conversation, which is a very small amount of Americans think that their politicians do keep promises. A vast majority of Americans would agree that politicians do not keep their promises, and that at the end of the day is far more important than, for example, what Nathan said is true. It is objectively true that if Virginia diversified their economy and more West Virginians learned to decode and learned how to erect windmill, or what's it called? Not windmills. The things that go spinny and you get the air power, the spinning machines, then they'd be better off. But that is not the perception of people in West Virginia. I think that we should think about like the situation these people are running in. This is an article that's talking about how half of West Virginians do not believe in the legitimacy of the 2020 election. I have one here that's talking about how the progressives in the Senate for West Virginia support a $10 minimum wage. That is the progressive West Virginian stance, is $5 under what is trying to be pushed in the General Senate. And I was just looking up for Christian Cinema. It looks like her rightward turn was during her second...
What was that last claim? I'm sorry? What was the last claim you just made?
The last claim I made is that the progressives or the Democrats in the West Virginia Senate are pushing for a $10 minimum wage, and that is $5 less than what was trying to be pushed, which was $15 minimum wage. So,
well, the thing you just said, so as a poll, majority of West Virginia support the $15 minimum wage. So my point there still stands.
No, I didn't say I did not say that a majority of people support it. I said that the people that are actually elected officials in Virginia are pushing for $10 minimum wage. Maybe if they do a random poll, that's true. But again, the people that are voting for these politicians are not all Virginians. It's like we talked about. It's specific. All Virginians don't vote. You can get a lot if we just randomly poll all of Californians. You can get some really crazy stuff, but that's not representative of what people in Aptos are voting for. Anyways, the other thing I want to say is that it looks like Christian Cinema right-wing turn kind of came more so in her second thing, when she was elected to the state senate or something like this. I'm looking at her Wikipedia page, and it's talking about like how she's bipartisan and she doesn't want to be put into like boxes and stuff. It looks like she got accused of witchcraft in her first Senate run, and the other person she was running against said that she was doing pagan rituals. So I don't know, maybe that's a good just indicator of who she's running against in these places. That's just all that I wanted to say.
She's an atheist.
Yeah. I mean, atheists are profound for their pagan rituals. I think that I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't like these people. I was talking about how I was joking about how Christian Cinema is CIA in the chat earlier. I don't like these people. I don't like Manchin. These are bad politicians. I would not vote for them if I lived in these places. But at the end of the day, I just like we're never going to push these people. We're never going to nudge these people. And I don't know.
I think you can push these people. Absolutely.
Well, you can, but not. I don't know. You're not going to change Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin said recently. He said, "I'm never going to be a liberal. If you want me to be a liberal, I'm never going to be liberal." That's just true. That's just the fact, right?
You guys should like that. You guys should agree with that.
No, I would like him to be a progressive.
Yeah. So okay, about this percentage of promises kept, right? I think it matters exactly what those votes are that are being taken. Because not all these things matter as much, right? So, like, what we have to look at is for their divergence, for their campaign promises, right? Like, what were those specific votes, and whose interest might it serve that they had that diversion? I think that's actually more valuable, right? I think yes, for the vast majority of promises, first of all they'll make those. I think they don't want to make a lot of promises that they can't keep, right? Or don't intend to keep. Right? That's just putting them in hot water when they don't necessarily have to do, right? And then there's other things that you say to your constituents because this is what you just have to do, right? Like you could say this is not a promise, but like you can say to your constituents that you're straight when you're not because that gets you in office, right? And you can take this in all kinds of different directions. But this is the thing. You can say to your constituents that you don't support gay marriage, Obama, when you do. Right? Like, that's something that you say to get elected. So when there is a divergence, that's much more interesting than just a percentage that, okay, we've hit a certain, there's like, I don't think there's a certain threshold to say that this person is necessarily honest, right? Each politician, even Bernie Sanders, who I love so much, right? breaks promises for all kinds of reasons. We have to analyze which promises are being broken and for why. Does that make sense, Kobe?
Yes, you do. Yes, it does. I think you make a pretty good point here. If it is true that 70% of promises are kept, but the 70% of promises are, get cats out of trees bill, and the other 30% are funding the crawfish billionaires, that's a problem, right? I totally understand that. I would say that, kind of going back to a slightly kind of like a rephrasing of something I think Walking on Sunshine said earlier, like I would argue that a lot of the times that, like I said, maybe the interest that a politician is serving, it is true that that 30% of the interest that a politician is serving is in just a big business, but big businesses are going to fund politicians that's already kind of in their interest. I was looking it up and I was getting competing numbers, but it looks like Wikipedia says that in 2017, 2% of the West Virginia economy was in the coal industry, but then another thing said that 15% was in the energy industry. So I'm not sure if that is talking about the wind machines and stuff. I'm not sure what that is, but it seems as if it's unsurprising that coal manufacturers are already going to be targeting someone like Joe Manchin, who is already in a contested place, or someone like whatever. For example, I was posting about how Christian Cinema during the middle of the fucking pandemic took a paid wine internship during the time of being on the clock. Like, obviously, I completely agree. And many of these politicians, including I think Cinema especially, are pretty fucking bought out. But all my argument would be like, I would focus more so on trying to find more politicians like Cori Bush, or people that are already in a community where the big businesses that are going to be appealing to her are already going to be appealing from a progressive lens, than someone like Joe Manchin, who's just we're always going to be kind of having this weight pushing us to the right.
Well, the reason we're focusing on Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema for this situation with the reconciliation is because the Democratic Party is very aligned on an issue, except for these two, and these two are stopping the agenda of Joe Biden.
So you guys have a Susan Collins and Mitt Romney. Okay.
I 100% agree. Real quick, Crunch Lord. I mean, Susan Collins and Mitt Romney vote with Trump like 95% of the time. So
first time,
it's not exactly equivalent.
And so do those two.
No,
this is like the first time too.
I think it was Ryan Grimm that was tweeting about this today. That it seems as if it is true, like the people are saying oh well, the reason Christian Sinema is doing this and Joe Manchin is they are doing an amazing strategy where they're actually going to outsmart and keep themselves in the Senate forever by being both bipartisan. It looks like this is failing. So Kristen Sinema is not has lost 6 points amongst independents, is very unfavorable amongst Democrats, and is only the highest is 40% amongst Republicans. So I 100% agree. If it's anybody, I'm betting what's his name? Cinema's going into the smoky room with the cigarette smoking men.
Yep, I don't even know what her end goal is.
Let's go to Eucharist and Cat Control.
Okay, I have a lot. I'll try to keep it short. Walking on Sunshine mentioned and brought up a whole host of topics with the idea that Congress people are basically seeking re-election. You all are talking about a lot of really interesting ideas about how Congress people should represent their districts or their constituencies, and then asking some questions about how they actually do that I think are really important. Turns out there's a metric shit ton of research on this. So if you guys ever took any political science class at all that talked about Congress, you probably read or at least talked about David Mayhew's book, Congress, the Electoral Connection. And he presents this idea that people in Congress are what he calls single-minded election seekers. So this is a thesis that kind of drives congressional research still today. It's been challenged some, but what that means basically is that Congress people make all of their decisions with re-election in mind, whether that's voting on the floor, whether that's their campaign choices, where they campaign, who they campaign with, who they endorse, what policies they say they support and then vote against or vote present on, as we've seen recently, right? All these things are playing in because they want to be reelected because they can keep getting reelected for a long time, and their primary power and source of income and influence comes from being reelected. So as we've already mentioned, right, opinion polls aren't necessarily how they determine what their constituency wants, because their constituency might be, in their mind, the people who are actually going to reelect them, not the people who just live within their district. So, as there are particular demographics that I know as a politician are actually going to determine my reelection. I don't, in a normal election cycle, have to care what people our age think, because you guys just aren't going to turn out for elections in most districts statistically, right? I just don't have to care what you think. So especially for Manchin and people like him, yeah, he has to care what the people who are demographically more like Trump supporters in his district think than the younger college students who left the state but still vote in their home county or whatever. He doesn't necessarily have to care what they think, because they're not the ones who are gonna vote for him. Somebody mentioned primaries as well. I think it was, yeah, I can't remember. I'm sorry. But I think this is going to be really interesting as we keep an eye on stuff like the cinema stuff, as we keep an eye on controversial figures like Lauren Boebert and Madison Cawthorn, who are making these kind of like national pushes and getting a ton of money, but are kind of pissing off key groups in their home districts. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens along those lines, where like Madison Cawthorn specifically, I follow a lot. He's had like several sheriffs who endorsed him in the past election cycle withdraw their support for him because he's done literally nothing for anybody in his district. Everybody's pissed at him there. So it's like there's like the Republican establishment in his own district is kind of turning on him. I think it's gonna be really fun to watch. I don't know what'll happen. He has a shit ton of money and a lot of powerful friends, so he'll probably get reelected, but it will be fun to watch either way. Importantly, relating to what led to this conversation, getting reelected as a congressperson plays into how congresspeople interact with presidents and their executive orders. So you guys, we might be complaining about how Biden is doing certain things, but Congress turns out to be a really important constraint on how presidents behave while they're in office. So yes, presidents have a lot of power with their executive orders. We might want the president to try to like streamline certain processes, do as much as he can, but there's a lot of research as well on this, on the ways that presidents actually constrain their behaviors or even go back and revise their own executive orders in response to legislative pressure. So I just pulled a book off my shelf from one of my professors on this, but like Clinton has two really big examples of this. So like Clinton was going to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell through executive order, and there was enough backlash and he knew he was going to lose the fight in Congress, and he backed off on that and he didn't do that, right? So he was going to do it, and then there was such a backlash because Congress people knew that their constituents wanted them to push back against this, or the people who would reelect them wanted them to push back against this. He didn't do it. And then there's another example of an executive order. I can pull the number if you want, that Clinton actually passed down an executive order, and then there was such a backlash that before Congress could even act on it, he went back and revised it and remanded it. So presidents fundamentally know that their executive orders and therefore their agenda and their legacy are fragile if they build all of their influence on executive orders. So there's more to it than that. We can't just expect Biden to come in and govern with an iron fist and try to fix all of these things when he knows either what will happen is the next president will do what he did to Trump's executive orders and just overturn all of the ones that they don't like, or Congress will come in and fight it.
This guy speaks truth.
Can I go real quick?
Yeah.
Can I ask, how many people here claim, like, say, fuck the Democratic Party, I'm a leftist? Can you raise your hand real quick?
I'm a leftist, yeah, sure.
Me,
Okay.
I'm raising my
So you
hand.
guys are
I don't
mad,
claim to
so you
be a
guys are
Democrat.
mad that so you guys are mad that two Congress people voted against the party lines of the Democrats?
No,
I am.
No, remember they
Absolutely.
voted against progressive.
I'm
mad that there wasn't a $6 trillion bill.
Here. I'm
mad
sorry.
that there wasn't a $10 trillion bill to help for soft infrastructure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I have
and
issues. I have a lot of issues with the Democrats.
Yeah, Vivian.
Okay, so we're cool that they voted against party line. All right, got it.
Vivian, I think you were going to say what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Oh, I said no. We're mad that they voted against progressive legislation that although it doesn't go far enough, does align somewhat with our ideals. And because there was a chance to get this legislation passed to make people's lives better, and they did not. They opposed it.
So in this case, you wanted you like Democrats. Got it.
I really wish, and you've been doing this all fucking panel, and it's really fucking annoying.
You can be as mad as you want.
That you would stop trying.
You've been
to
doing this
these...
all panel, and
Dude,
you're getting mad about it.
Hey, you've been doing this all panel, right? You've been every single fucking time, mate. You're trying to get some kind of weird.
You can be mad.
Oh my fucking god! Can I finish my fucking sentence? Do you have a problem?
He's muted.
Okay. All fucking panel, you've been trying to box people into like, oh, but you actually do support the Democrats, or oh, why do you disagree with this when the Democrats did it, or oh, Democrats did this and you don't agree with, you don't disagree with it then. These weird little fucking gotchas, and it's not just him. Like fucking Republicans do this shit all the time. Like right wingers do this shit all the time, where they're just like, "Oh, well, the Democrats did something similar. I guess you're not opposed to that,
Thanks
though." And it's like, well, yeah,
Gotcha.
actually, we fucking
Love and life,
are.
Elisa.
So how about you get some fucking political education, understand who the fuck you're talking to, and stop putting out these dumbass fucking gotchas because they don't work. It's just disruptive and nonsense. Anyway.
They assume that we're just like them, and that we're just like party loyalists or some shit. Like,
Exactly.
We don't know them. We don't know their positions. That's what they say when you try and box them, quote unquote, try and box them in.
Well, it's really easy. It's whatever they fucking read in Breitbart the other day, because these people have no fucking brains.
Yeah. Go ahead. Okay, neutral. And then Kobe.
I'm gonna leave. That's all I'll say. Have a good night. Better go. Have a good work. My cat is in front of the leave button. Goodbye.
All right. What I originally was gonna say, you can't when talking about politicians and like politicians versus the electorate, those are really two different conversations, because when you do look at statistics and polls, you can say at the end of the day that the polls do provide a glimpse into what the electorate is actually thinking. The Build Back Better plan in this particular instance is incredibly popular across the board. However much stock you put into political polls, however much stock you put into politics, that's your own discretion. But based off of like those polls, which is the only thing that we have to actually like gauge what the electorate is thinking, it's popular across the board. So when we're talking about Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, even in their home states, this is incredibly popular. And when both of these senators are actively avoiding their constituents to the point that they are either riding up on canoes to their yachts or chasing them into the bathroom, you have to wonder, why are they not answering to their electorate who is clearly upset? And then you have to take into account the fact that dark money and self-interest quite literally run Washington and this entire country. I don't think that that's in contention whatsoever here. Like dark.
Okay, I'm neutral. I tend to move to your side of these things, right? But like, let's contend with what was said previously by like Eucharist and some others, that they are responding specifically to the part of their constituency that they think will actually vote them in, right? Because not 100% of the eligible voters vote, right? So there's that. And then going by demographics, younger people vote less, and there's those younger people who are more likely to do all those activist things you were referring to, right? You know, like surround Manchin's yacht in D.C. And protest them, right? So those people are less likely to vote for him. And then he has there might be a vocal minority. Let's take the money out of it just for a second, right? But there could be a vocal minority that we aren't taking into account, that he speaks to regularly, that could also be influencing. There's could be all kinds of ways other than saying simply corruption, right?
And I'm not. Okay, yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, you can go.
All right, I'm not saying that it's simply corruption, but what I'm saying is, in this particular political climate, it's not the voters who pick the elector, or no, it's not the voters who pick the politician at this point with gerrymandering and just the amount of, I'm going to cop out and say a corruption, but the amount of corruption that is in politics, and I can't separate money from politics. You simply can't. Politicians are increasingly choosing who votes, period. Mm-hmm. Not who votes for them, who votes, based off of like gerrymandering, based off of I'm sorry, it's like 3:00 in the morning, so I'm getting really tired and
think enough.
You're just you're so
Wait, are you not going to bring up voter IDs? You're saying they're choosing who can't vote, and you're not going to bring up
Nathan, what are you saying? I'm not engaging with this dumbass. Nathan, what are you saying?
Oh,
is that not what
okay.
What the fuck?
I was just gonna say, hello, Vaush. I was just gonna say that the argument. I'll speak to the argument that
Vaush
Prime
is in
put
here.
up.
Just got real.
What if the money isn't a factor? And some people were saying, like, what if they're just responding to their voters, the voters that are definitely going to vote? And the simple response I have to that is that Republicans, on multiple occasions, have voted in elections to support, generally speaking, progressive policies. Marijuana legalization, for example, $15 minimum wage as well. You look at Florida, which is an example I love to go to. This state went to Trump, and went to Trump at a bigger margin than it went to DeSantis or than it went to Rick Scott in 2018. Okay? Trump had a good night in Florida, but the $15 minimum wage passed 60 to 30, which is literally aligned with the polls in West Virginia and the polls in Arizona and the polls across this country. Correct. So I'm confident to say that if it went to what's the word? I feel like I just said the word. I'm just gonna say referendum. If it went directly to the voters in West Virginia, they would vote for a $15 minimum wage. The fact that Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema aren't supporting it can be explained to me by nothing besides corruption.
I feel like that's so cynical. Like
it's not really. It's not really when you see
Okay,
the way
I've got
that
to
she
like
changed.
provide some kind of opposition. Let me provide some kind of opposition. Okay, I don't know about the minimum wage stuff, but I was reading about the filibuster in Arizona and Kristen Sinema, and that's her name, and it's Joe Bitchin as well. Basically, like, I could not comprehend as to why she would go against her own Democratic Party, because I think it was 60 or 80% were gonna vote, like, put a vote of no confidence if she didn't vote the way they wanted her to, which is to pass the bill. So the only two reasons, therefore, are that it is simply corruption. But when you look into that, you start to
out of the Senate. I mean, Jesus, like. It's a revolving door thing,
Also,
and we see it in Arizona a lot. There's a lot of dark
sacrifice
money here. This is a haven
the
for dark money
donations
in
also help
politics.
her keep her job, FYI.
So she doesn't care if she loses her job as
she may not stop everyone. Like if she delivers on the policy goals of big donors, right? Like she gets a job afterwards. This is what happens, right? Politicians leave.
I understand that. I understand that. Okay. Well,
so she might just be doing it for one term. That's a possibility.
Well, no, but that's not even the case either. They get reelected because they get the money again.
No, we got that. We know that. Yeah, but I'm just saying that even then, you're saying that she's saying that she's afraid of losing her job. I'm saying not necessarily the case. Like she might just be doing it to get a payday and a big one afterwards.
So you think she's voting against it to get a big payday?
I don't know.
I think that she is. I really think that she is.
I can't imagine she would have run.
Yeah. Go ahead, Vaush.
Yeah, I just wanted to give my opinion on this because I think there are a lot of factors that are being left out here. The idea that politicians do things to get reelected is pretty well established, and I think it explains a lot of their behavior. But I don't think it's holistic. I mean, how much of Trump's behavior, mannerisms, policies, speeches, everything, were guided by narcissism more than anything else, right? You know, we know that the profession of politician is filled with a disproportionate number of people with personalities that trend towards narcissism and megalomaniacal thinking. It really fits given the type of stuff they do. So it's not at all unlikely that people's personal biases are going to come into account pretty often. Some of those are indignation. I imagine that to an extent, Kyrsten Sinema is voted somewhat by spite against the people who seem to dislike her political change. I don't think that's at all unlikely. That just seems like the sort of thing people do, you know? To whether or not, like, the corporate influence stuff is corruption kind of varies. Sometimes it really is politicians just accepting money to change their opinions. Anybody who thinks politicians don't do that sometimes is, like, high on copium. Of course they do. For all of human history, people have done this.
Destiny thinks that.
Huh?
Destiny says that. I've had a whole thing about a whole fight with him on this one, but sorry, Vaush.
That's a mark for it being true, though. So.
Huh?
That's
Vaush, go ahead.
Oh, well, it certainly is a thing that happens. There's no getting around that. The extent to which it happens and the degree to which it happens are contested and variable and impossible for us to know. There's also a softer corruption, you know, where they don't just change their opinion. It's that they get buddy-buddy, and we all know people are favorable towards their buddy-buddies. Our system does enable a lot of immediate contact between wealthy donors, corporations, and politicians, and that is going to procure more favorable opinions towards them. It's also going to bias their thinking. If the only groups you talk to as a politician are oil companies and rich donors who are oil barons, of course you're going to have a more positive opinion on the oil industry. That's the only information you're getting. It's the only source you're talking with, which is why Sinema and Manchin's seeming unwillingness to talk with some elements of their constituency is so concerning. This is one of the reasons why the whole politicians do what they can to get reelected stuff can be descriptive but not prescriptive, because it's not necessarily a good thing for a few reasons. First of all, if your constituencies want fascism, that doesn't, like, you couldn't go like, oh, you know, well, Trump's just doing what his constituency wants. Like, obviously we can condemn behavior even if they're trying to fulfill their constituencies' wishes. And for two, to an extent, politicians cultivate their constituencies' wishes. As a president, you have a huge amount of power in what your constituency will end up wanting because you guide their thinking. Trump demonstrated this very, very clearly. And likewise with Manchin and Sinema, it's not just what they support being a product of their constituency, it's that they advocate that their constituencies support them in the things they push for. So it's kind of a cyclical thing.
Thank you.
To cap off this ramble, I'd just say that while I do think a lot of politicians' behavior is explained by a desire to get reelected, it's not really a defense of any behavior. It's just a partial explanation for some elements of it that we can only really infer, in my opinion.
I think that's a really good point too. Honestly, is the way in which candidates can shape the party opinion. I think, yeah. I mean, you made a great example with Trump. I would say it follows into local politics and everything. And there is, especially in the United States, a sort of an almost fanatical partisan loyalty. You know, where if a candidate you like says something is the case, that often becomes the belief of a large portion of their base.
I love it. And Vaush, to back you up, it's an example I use all the time, is President Obama. When he came out finally for gay marriage, right, in the very cynical way that he did. But when he did that, they had polls previously on gay marriage because it was, the talk of the town. And then they looked at it afterwards, and especially within the African American community, there was a massive shift for gay marriage afterwards, right? And then later on, when it actually was enshrined by the Supreme Court, there was another shift generally in the nation. Now, why did that happen? Because a lot of people had never put any thought into it, right?
And this is why, this is why Swamp Butt was trying to get us all with the inconsistency nonsense all the time, because some people just can't imagine that you wouldn't toe that partisan line because they get all their information from those people who they revere for some reason because of that tribal loyalty.
That's actually my biggest criticism of Biden, I think, actually. It's that he's not a passionate orator for a lot of the things he claims to believe in,
Yeah,
Like
he
Donald
doesn't
Trump.
use any of his political power, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I'm sure he talks a lot within the party, but like any time Donald Trump opened his mouth, you heard 27 arguments, bad ones, mind you, but arguments for everything he believed in. Every time you gave him any second to talk, and he would remind his entire constituency why they should follow him off the edge of the earth.
Well, and that's the problem with Sinema and Manchin. They should be doing the same thing, right? Sinema and Manchin should be doing the same thing.
Leader.
Oh my God!
I mean, he, if nothing else, he had passion and drive, not towards good ends. But I do think that politicians should be passionate advocates for good things. And Biden's, he's a little sleepy.
I think Trump is just used to being showbiz, though, and that's why he acts the way he does. He's very used to being in front of a camera.
Yeah, but Biden's been in politics how long?
Entertaining. Yeah, but Biden's not there as an entertainer. He's there to talk about the most boring shit possible, which is legislation.
But you know what? Okay, though.
I mean, Trump is I don't think you can compare Trump and Biden on their mannerisms and how enthusiastic they are, because Trump literally isn't a politician. This guy was built for TV. That's his prime purpose, is to entertain.
No, I mean, apart from him being involved in politics for about
apart from him being the president, he's not really.
Yeah, but when that was after the career
he was involved in politics for about a decade before.
Yeah, he donated to a couple, but he never ran for office, really.
Janie, I don't know how first of all, they're mutually exclusive. Oh well, Trump is an entertainer or con man or however you want to say that, and he had practice in front of TV. The main mode of communicating with the American people is TV, right? For any politician, right? JFK and Nixon learned this, right? During their debate. Like this is the game as it's played. So you have to be able to communicate to people where they're at, and they're on fucking TV. They're on video, right? And so
they're on video.
And Vaush going there and bringing up that fuck, I'm losing my point now. But shit, what was?
I don't disagree with you. I know what you're trying to get to. I understand what you're saying. However, I do think Joe Biden is a particular case because we know that he has struggled with his speech before in the past, and that's why.
Me?
I swear, didn't he have like a stutter? Or
He had a
something?
speech impediment.
Yeah. Like he is.
And
I know. Okay, I know. Yes, I know. Oh my god, I know what I'm saying, but it's really fucking hard to communicate and at 9 o'clock in the fucking morning. Okay, like he is like not built for speeches. He has never been. That's never been his strong suit ever as a politician.
That's not.
I know what I'm saying. That should be his strong suit. But you're saying what it should be, not what it is.
You don't understand.
Compared to Trump, at least.
Okay, so you're just agreeing that he has a flaw, and we're saying that he has that flaw. That's what I'm
saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But these senators.
Hold on. Oh my God, I'm talking. You don't understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying, I'm trying to agree with Vaush, and I remember my previous point, is that when Trump talked, he made a case. He was constantly making a case for his policies, no matter what it was, right? Now, I'm not saying that necessarily that Biden can emulate his style or that he should. Certainly not. He's his own person. He has his own way of doing things. That's okay. But to be constantly making a case, to be using the bully pulpit.
The only problem with the big streamer coming on is you just get shouted down no matter what the fuck you do. It's annoying.
His case to his individuals. You don't have to be an elegant speaker. Trump is not an elegant speaker to accomplish this, right? But the point is to always be pushing and letting everyone know exactly what you're standing for and exactly what you're pushing for.
I think that as time goes on, that's actually going to become a more essential part of the president's job. Think about Nixon versus Kennedy, the introduction of the television meant all of a sudden that Nixon looking sullen and disheveled, as opposed to, Kennedy looking well put together and handsome. It made a big difference. But now, we don't just have occasional television debates and broadcasts. With web video, we get more access directly to the president than ever before. And as Congress becomes more gridlocked, it seems like the importance of the politician as a political agent, as an untangler of knots behind the scenes, is fading, and the rising prominence of the politician as an orator, as a deliverer of information, that seems to be taking over. Because, Biden doesn't write any of these policies. There are hundreds of people beneath and around him who explain, who detail, who write everything. As any president should have. They don't have the time to do all that, menial work themselves. What they do have the time to do is speak to the nation. So maybe in the future, we'll need to see this shift from the Democrats, who, at least in the party structure, seem to favor more moderate establishment, non-populist candidates, because otherwise I fear the Republicans, who are clearly just going full fucking hedge into populist, demagoguery, might have an advantage in their ability to sway audiences,
Yeah, the Republicans are way better at tapping into populism than the Democrats, unfortunately. We need to get better at that.
I would say
populism is fucking cringe.
Wrong. I love it.
Yeah.
Nice incorrect opinion there.
But I was just gonna say, I definitely agree with the point that Vaush just made. That's not really a surprise to anybody that watches these streams and sees me on it. But I was gonna say, I think that we're somewhat seeing this shift. A lot of the progressives in Congress come from activist backgrounds. Bernie comes from an activist background, and he loved his rallies. He was crazy for him. And I think if we see more progressives generally getting in office, we're probably going to see a future where the Democratic Party is more willing to sell their message. I honestly can't comprehend why Joe Biden doesn't fly around the country constantly. People kind of criticize Trump for being constantly on campaign mode, but that's what he's fucking good at. And every single politician
didn't get reelected, did he?
Yeah, but Biden isn't. Biden's not good at that. That's why he just.
Well, that's a real problem for us then, because we need somebody who can send a strong message. We need somebody who can send a strong message to the middle of the road Democrats that are hopping on board, and we need those middle of the road Democrats to sell these policies to their constituents. And that's where the problem is. They're choosing not to sell the policies to their constituents. They're choosing not to get out in front of the cameras. They're choosing not to talk about it. Instead, they're choosing to do the exact opposite, even though it's popular in their districts or in their states.
If it's popular, then you can vote
popular with
right?
the Democrats.
Wait, what was that? What was that?
So you're going to win, then you're going to vote out cinema, right? Because it's so easy. And
that's the plan. We're coming.
Actually, Arizona has already voted no confidence for her in the Arizona Democratic Party. So they're already on their way to doing it. They're going to censure her if she doesn't reform the filibuster in Arizona.
The Democrats.
I don't think so.
They've already voted no confidence in her.
Yeah, they're already doing it. I know people inside the party that I associate with, and they are dead set on doing this if she falters on this.
Wait, what are they doing?
They're gonna censure her if she doesn't go along with the infrastructure package, the reconciliation bill.
They want to put a vote of no confidence, basically.
What they'll do is they'll strip all the Arizona Democratic Party's funding from her re-election campaign, and they'll put up a primary against her.
Oh yeah, maybe. But they're probably not going to be there.
The Democrats don't really have the stomach for like severe condemnations, not the way that Republicans do. Like if you turned even a little bit against Trump, they'd scream at you, you were a rhino. I mean, they were very harsh with it. I feel like Democrats are too committed to civility to really dedicate themselves to that.
Exactly. Democrats need to be more committed to being more cutthroat.
To infighting.
That's just not demonstrable in what we're seeing here, though.
Democrats need to be more insane and cult-like. What a real great.
Yes.
Wait, pause. In this polarized society, that's exactly what they need to do.
I'm not saying they need to be more insane and cult-like. I'm saying that, condemnation of the worst elements of your party is a natural part of any political party making, right?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's
but everyone's version of that is different.
But I was gonna say,
I wasn't advocating for Oh, sorry. Never mind. Go on.
Oh, I was just I don't understand what we're saying cult-like when we're saying Democrats should be stronger advocates for their policies. If I was president, I understand me and Joe Biden are different people, but I'd be in fucking West Virginia right now talking to people, doing rallies, doing 5 rallies a day until he makes his decision. I'd go to Arizona as well. One of the points I think that is being made by
it was a
yeah, no problem. I was just gonna say, I think one of the points being made in opposition to my perspective is that if we put pressure on someone like Sinema, we're gonna potentially lose the seat. Why? We're pressuring her to pick popular policy. I understand that,
it's West Virginia. That's why.
That's Arizona. Arizona's not West Virginia,
sir. But anyway, so Mark Kelly is doing fine. Mark Kelly is much more aligned with the Build Back Better agenda, among other good policies. He's not perfect, but he's better than Sinema, and he's doing just fine in the polls.
Maybe the people that elect him are a different group of people.
They're fucking senators from Arizona. What the fuck are you talking about?
Maybe the group that Mark Kelly is trying to advertise himself towards is one group of people. Maybe
the group that helped him win.
You have to understand
what
districts, right?
No, they're not districts.
Hey, who knows the platform that carries around? I'm just curious. Does anybody know?
Wait. I'm sorry. The way the Senate works is not separated into districts like fucking Congress. Holy shit. I know somebody else did. It's literally they're not going for different demographics. They have the same fucking state.
What do you mean?
Sinema might rely on one group of people
of that.
Yeah.
Of that.
There's a Republican and a Democrat version for each state, right? That's why there's 100.
You have to no.
Listen, you have to look at what she ran on that got her
you
into
can laugh.
office.
I'm asking a question, okay? I mean,
No, sorry.
There are 2 senators per state.
It's just I would ask something like that. That's why.
Yeah, sure. So 2 senators per state. They have to go after the same people. The only reason why there's 2 is because when the country was founded. What the fuck are you talking about? They don't go after.
So Mark Kelly might be aiming for younger, maybe more white, college-educated people because he's a little bit more progressive, and maybe Cinema is going after a different demographic.
No, she ran on a Bernie Light platform. Look at her platform. For God's sake, man.
So, I mean, these are two senators from the same state. Why the fuck are you saying they have to go?
I don't know how to
I'm understanding your point. Why, logically, why the fuck are they going after two different demographics if the Democratic demographic, I guess you're saying, elected a person in a tight district? Oh, excuse me.
Well,
I'm sorry. I fucked up my own
politics
words.
change, right? State politics change over the years, right?
Yeah, and it seems like
one
the
year,
state's turning on
same
cinema
thing,
now.
But
well,
if a platform gets you elected,
I
you fulfill
want
that
to ask a
platform.
hypothetical. I want to ask a hypothetical as somebody who doesn't live in the US and doesn't know this too well. If you're within the same state, would you target two different demographics to cover more ground, or would you always go for the same? Would you work a single strategy, or would you divide?
I mean, unless you're in like DC or like Maryland or like a full blue state.
No, but are you going to divide them by
The senators aren't even elected in the same cycles. They're elected in different cycles.
You don't have to divide between demographics.
You have to target both. You have to target both, or you're going to lose.
Well, it's a matter of where you spend your money, and in terms of like your constituency, you're always going to spend campaign money on targeting the demographics where you think you can increase your constituency by the greatest amount. So, you know, for more progressive people, that's going to be people who live in cities, people of color, younger people, and for less, progressive people, it's going to be the opposite. But at the end of the day, while you're all pulling from the same people who could potentially vote for you, you're going to target different groups just as a matter of mathematical,
inevitability. Speaking facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say, by the way, that keep in mind that you can also create your own constituency to an extent. Think of how much the Republican Party has changed in the past 20 years. I mean, if you showed a Republican if you took them out of 9/11 and you brought them to today, I don't think they'd recognize their party. It's like a frog in a boiling pot, right? Though, of course, the phrase there is a myth. The frog would jump out if the pot got too hot. But the myth, I think, holds true in describing their behavior, because as a slow procession of events and normalizations, we arrive today at a very different party. And I think that the Democrats have to be active in shaping those who they want to be voted for or by in the future. Bernie Sanders did a really good job of this because the dude left a huge mark on the discourse. But to what extent is Biden going to do that? Or will Biden be remembered for the things he believed in, or for the policies he managed to eke through during his presidency? And I think, unfortunately, it's going to be the latter. Trump will not be remembered for his policies. He got done a tenth of what he said he wanted to do. He will be remembered for his effect on the party.
Well, the thing is, too, like with the Republicans.
I'm gonna try you, Chris. Go.
Man, dude, so much has happened. I got to gather my thoughts. Go to somebody else.
Can I go?
Go ahead, Crunch.
Well, I think the Republican Party changed for the most part is because the right realized that Halliburton and Bush was kind of a bad choice, right? Like people like you can say like I'm like, oh, I hate Republicans, so I'm going to think the worst of them. But for the most part, I think like Trump was a step up than fucking Dick Cheney and Bush, and that's my opinion.
In what ways?
Well, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what ways?
In what ways? Handing out contracts and going to war for fucking money. I mean, I think that's a really big change for a party.
If you're in Iraq,
because we were pulling out of those countries under Trump. So like, as much as we hate Trump, like, right, we probably would have stayed in that war. Obama could have gotten us out, and Biden could have too. Like, luckily, Trump was a catalyst to get us out of Afghanistan.
Wait, no. False. Absolutely fucking false.
Really? So what did Obama do to get us out of Afghanisan?
I don't give a fuck about Obama.
What did Trump do to get us out of
Afghanistan? Wait.
You don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not going to shut up. You are clearly don't even know what the fuck you're talking about because you don't even understand Trump's record. So get off his dick and let me explain his record. So
Did Trump not set a deadline to get out of
Why the fuck are
Afghanistan?
you even back disrupting shit? You ran off like a little baby and
Shut
cried.
up! You talk forever, Vivian. No one cares what you have to say.
You literally
So-
said bye in the chat
Wait.
twice, and then you came back because Vaush is here.
Okay, so Donald
No,
Trump.
I just didn't want to get
is-
muted and hear
Are you
Vivian's
flattered, Vaush?
diatribe.
Go cry.
Donald
Go on,
Trump.
piss off.
Nathan.
Donald Trump is the Republican Party with an extra coat of paint of authoritarianism. But literally, some of the biggest highlights of George Bush's career was a huge major tax cut and military intervention in the Middle East, warmonger. What are some of the big highlights of Donald Trump's career? A huge, unneeded, irresponsible tax cut, increasing federal spending, much like George W. Bush, and increasing drone strikes 435%, as well as continuing our support for things like the actions that the Saudis are doing to the people in Yemen. Ultimately, at the end of the day, he kept us in fucking Afghanistan when we could have left a long ass time ago. The only president that has been willing to do it in this century has been Joe Biden. So I would say,
Dude, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
Everything you just
How-
said is dumb.
How is it dumb?
How is it dumb?
Is it dumb
Actually
because
drop more
you know,
drones
because
than
every
Obama.
Are facts dumb?
every president we've had has done nothing to get us out of Afghanistan. Trump at least set a deadline to do so.
Wait. Pause. Did you
And that's
who
what-
got us
okay,
out
okay.
of
If you let me
That's what the
fucking
difference
talk, if you let me talk, right?
Good, shouldn't have
Every
left
president
Afghanistan
fucking
anyway.
before Trump did nothing to get us out of Afghanistan, right? And you guys are using this whole fucking shitty evac from Afghanistan as something. Oh, this is Trump's fault because he fucking did this. Okay,
I love
so at least
I love
This is like weird
because he signed all the
thing.
deals. All right, just talk over me because you're being fucking inconsistent. Good deal.
Oh, is it inconsistent?
Talking over you because you're just wrong.
Oh boy. Okay, one at a time. Vaush,
So-
give it a try.
So, with regards to the U.S. troop levels in Afghanistan, things spiked in 2011 under Obama with over 100,000 troops there. Of course, we killed, Osama bin Laden, and things declined afterwards. Though we should have left quite a bit before that point. We never should have
Yes.
been there at all. Not trying to play otherwise. However, I'm very tired.
Yeah, I was there.
However,
We should have been there.
Right. However, at the end of Obama's term, the troop level was brought down to around 10,000, which was about a third of what he inherited in the beginning of his term. And at the end of Trump's term, at first it went up. 2017 and 18, we had increases in the troop level in Afghanistan. And then it was brought down to Obama levels. And then the only meaningful dip under Trump was a spike downwards in 2020, corresponding with deals made. Of course, he released quite a few Taliban leaders who then later participated in the recapture of Kabul. So, I mean, I guess, deals
Talking
made,
about
deals
Obama
lost.
releasing Taliban leaders
I'm talking about Trump
for
releasing
Joe
Taliban.
for Bo Bergdahl.
So,
that not
wait, hold
happen?
on. So I understand this is a partisan contest for you, but I spend about as much time criticizing.
It's not,
Democrats
dude.
as
I
you
really
do.
don't care.
Okay, good. Well, then you can see that Trump really wasn't anything special when it came to
I
mitigating
don't think he
warfare.
was, but I'm saying he was the
Especially-
one that
No,
put forth.
Okay, now let Vaush finish. Let Vaush.
All right, so the only thing is, if your defense of Trump as sort of a preferable option to Bush is that he eased up on the warfare, relative to Bush, I guess that's true because he didn't start the Iraq and Afghanistanian war. But in terms of his overall behavior, he seems at best set par for the course, and at worst kind of monstrous. The drone strikes increased massively. They stopped reporting civilian deaths because it was making the administration look really bad. And Donald Trump has even expressed support for military action that took place beforehand. I think, didn't he say that he supported what happened with Gaddafi in Libya? Yeah, I'm pretty
No,
sure
he didn't.
I'm pretty sure he said at the time that he was that he would have
No,
been
he
in
was
favor.
against the Iraq and Afghan war.
No,
That's not
Gaddafi-
There's
Okay, but
plenty of
Gaddafi-
record of it.
Gaddafi
There's a
doesn't-
lot of record of that.
Gaddafi wasn't in either of those countries.
I know
though.
Gaddafi's in Libya, which was also a huge mistake, and which is why I didn't vote for fucking Clinton.
Well,
It's so
right, well,
good.
that's what I was saying. I
Yeah.
think Trump expressed support for at a point that he was saying he would have done the same thing. So I'm just saying he's not really great when it comes to like keeping us out of warfare. If you wanted an anti-warfare president, I mean, shouldn't you have voted for like Bernie Sanders or something?
I voted for Gary Johnson in 2016, even though I think he's a fucking idiot. Yeah, like he was just better than fucking the two we had a choice for. Like if you could laugh, you didn't vote in this election because you live in a different fucking country. So moving on. You know, I had two
Oh, sorry,
choices.
because we're in a different country. We can't have any opinion.
I mean, what was my choice?
It's not as if U.S.
Gary
policy directly affects most of the rest of the world.
But Gary Johnson just smoked weed and didn't know anything about Syria, okay? But the other two were kind of shit. What I'm saying is
literally
that
all libertarians give a shit about is not going to war and smoking weed, and that's like the whole of their
I mean, I
platform.
I did
Smoke weed
combat
every day.
tours in Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't want to send other people to do shit that I did.
Sex workers.
The great war of capitalism that we need to stop, of course.
Eucharist.
I knew he was going to turn it at some
build the
point.
roads? Who's going to build the roads? That's what I want to
Say something smart.
All right, so yeah, this conversation went 100 different ways. I wanted to go back to what Vaush said a little while ago. So he said, right, Congress people seek election. That's not the whole story. Sure, I think we all agree on that on some level. So you can have somebody in office who is expressly ideological and principled. You get the wild, wacky Ron Pauls of the world, right? Who have an almost pristine voting record in line with their ideology, and somehow they keep getting reelected because people just like the shtick, right? They just go along with it. They really like this guy. He keeps getting reelected in his district. You know, somebody like that. Maybe that's Cinema's deal, right? Maybe she's principled. Maybe she's just sticking to her guns. I don't think that's true, but maybe you can get somebody reelected who has no instinct for self-preservation. That happens. You get people who are idiots in politics. They luck into an office and then they last a term. Maybe that's what she's going to be. Maybe you get somebody who thinks they can leverage it into a new career after a term or two, and so maybe she's one of those. Maybe she's just a moron and she just doesn't understand how to get reelected, or just doesn't understand what her constituents want. All of those are possible. I don't think that she is necessarily in the same category. We keep talking about her in the same sentence as Manchin because of current voting lines, right? But I don't think she is necessarily in the same category as Manchin, because he is I think somebody who is a pretty decent politician who is doing what he thinks will get him reelected. So in any case, Vaush went from there to like talking about presidents, and I think presidents, as far as we can tell, are different than Congress people, not just because they only get reelected once, right? So if you're a member of the House of Representatives, you go up for reelection much more often. Senators, obviously, it's a longer term, but presidents can only get reelected once. But also because presidents have different constraints on their authority and different goals in office, right? They might have a legislative agenda what they want to get, and they might have more control over it. They might want to leave a legacy. There are things that a president can do that a congressperson can't. So they have different incentives and motives and institutional constraints on their behavior. So yeah, so they're gonna be different. Going back to the media conversation, though, the difference between like a Biden and a Trump, I think it's really interesting because there's a clear change in how people campaign in the pre and post TV era that we've talked about a little bit. But this is something that is really famously described in a book called Congress at the Grassroots by Richard Fenno, who's like a really super famous political scientist. But he walks around a district in Georgia with a guy named John Flint, who, if you don't know, is the guy who Newt Gingrich ends up unseating in Georgia. And so he's with him for years and goes around with him and looks at how he represents his district. So he goes with him to these like little corner markets and to these neighborhood grocery stores, and this representative would just like hang out outside and be like, "Hey, I'm John Flint. Do you know who I am? Did you vote for me? Like, what interests you? Like, what do you want me to blah blah." Like, he would have these conversations with the people in his district. And then Newt Gingrich comes along, and his entire campaign was like TV focused. It was top down. It was very broad, and it didn't work. He beat Newt Gingrich a couple of times actually, but Newt Gingrich ends up winning. And as we're aware, he ends up in American politics for a long time because he figured out the TV thing pretty early. He was ahead of the curve in some ways. So Flint campaigns the old way, Gingrich campaigns the new way. It's kind of a microcosm of how things go. So somebody like a Trump ends up being really appealing as a showman, and I think Quinn Janey is right to say like Trump is not the same thing as a career politician. He doesn't have the same incentives acting on him. He doesn't have the same behavior necessarily. He doesn't have like the same like if you're in Congress for a long period of time, you're going to behave differently than somebody who is an upstart. It's going to happen. You're going to be trained in certain ways of behaving that are going to be different from the way Trump behaved. So yeah, obviously it didn't work. Vivian said like he didn't get reelected. So obviously it's not like it's a clean, oh yeah, just be a showman and you're going to win election over and over and over again. But there's something there. So the last thing I'll say, and then I'll stop for a while. Vaush brought up the frog pot thing with like, oh, look where the Republican Party is. That's just true for parties in general. Like, parties aren't what they used to be. Parties used to be strong. Parties used to really actually matter, and they still do to an extent, but not the way they used to, right? You don't get like, especially the 2016 primary field in the Republican Party with the old Republican Party, but you don't get Bernie versus Hillary with the old Republican or the old Democratic Party. It's just like parties are different today than they used to be. Like, American politics works differently. It's far more decentralized. It's not as like focused on the GOP and the DNC. There's a lot more going on. So.
Okay, Prime.
I like parties.
Can you agree? Right. Can I just say, can you agree that the media training you get as the showman that Trump was is different to the media training you get as a politician?
Yes, but that doesn't negate my
I don't know
point.
if Trump's really.
Wait.
I don't know if Trump's
I did have one more thing. I'm sorry. So, real quick, as we're talking about Trump and demagoguery and tyranny, Queen Janie, I happen to have a convenient copy of the complete works of Plato, and we're.
Please, anything but the philosophy. Listen,
You're still doing philosophy.
I will not do it. Sacrilege.
You're doing philosophy right now.
Yeah.
You're doing philosophy right now.
I haven't put powder on my concealer yet. You're creasing me up.
Biden's
You
never
believe
been a
that
great
philosophers
orator.
have been writing shit for millennia, and they still haven't found out anything better than good things are good and bad things are bad?
And they
Or
still
is it
haven't
just
figured out that philosophy
I
is
just don't
fucking
like
annoying
having-
and cringe. Like, Jesus Christ.
I just don't like having 78-year-old politicians.
How do you know they haven't found that out? Jamie?
Chris, like, I love you, but you're gonna give me an aneurysm.
I'm just trying to figure out how people came to the determination that Biden was a good orator. He's never been a good orator. He's gotten in trouble for stealing speeches because he can't even get a speech written right. I mean, the guy is not a good orator. So, I mean, to people wondering, like, why he's not more boisterous, he's just not a good public speaker. He never has been.
Have to be
Look,
boisterous.
I think we can all agree.
No,
I think we can all agree that, like,
you don't have to be boisterous. This point of simply making your case. You can do that in all kinds of styles, right? You don't have to do it within the Trump style. Saying that Biden had a different media training, right? Like, that's sure, great. That doesn't mean that he can't make his case. You can do that in many different ways, right? So whatever way works for him, whatever way works for him, do that, right? Do that.
No.
But
I think we're falling so far.
But he's not doing anything, and he's
thinking a 78-year-old man.
I think he
knows
needs
what's
to
best
send
for
out
fixing
subordinates
the
on
rest.
his behalf. He needs to send out very vocal subordinates on his behalf, people that either work in the White House or that are willing to do it in Senate and Congress, and put them out, in these contentious places.
I'm sorry,
and
if
sell
you
the
not seen
ideas.
those press briefings, this man cannot fucking select the right person.
Why are
to
we
do that
voting
shit.
for 70-year-old people? Right?
Why?
Is that the best that we have as a leader of
I
the
felt the
free
same
world?
way
Can we,
about Trump,
like,
Dave.
put
That's why did
I'm
Trump
a
get
fucking
elected for
right-wing
the exact
chud
same
behind
reason?
you, and can we come to some common ground, right? Like, voting for a 70-year-old man, right?
No,
I
as a
disagree.
leader of the free world, I think is fucking ridiculous.
I don't actually.
2024, baby, 100%. I don't give a fuck.
I know you have to. I know you have to
literally
fucking
do
hate
not
everything
care
I
how
say
old
for fucking dunks because I'm right wing, but I'm saying like these are
we're
reasonable
not.
takes.
You're the
No,
one
listen
trying to
to
dunk
us.
on everyone, buddy.
I mean, it's
don't-
been happening this whole panel.
give a
Which,
shit.
no, I'm sorry. I don't know what you're doing this victimhood thing, right? Like, no, we
Fucking
disagree.
Get the violin
Just like
out.
you said last time. Just like you said last time that, oh, we all agree on that other topic, right? And so we should move on. No, that wasn't the case. We didn't agree, and we don't agree now. No, you can actually vote for 70-plus-year-olds and have good results. You can have a person who is sharp, who is capable of handling the job physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever, right? Like, you can actually have that.
Like
so no,
who?
just,
Like who?
like
Bernie
Bernie fucking Sanders. Like Bernie fucking Sanders. That's who.
Well, yeah, but Bernie Sanders doesn't have dementia, like early onset dementia. Like Biden might.
Yeah, but that's not his point. That's not his point. That's not his point, though.
Hmm.
His point is just 70-year-olds in general.
Bernie Sanders is like a fucking unicorn. He's been consistent since day one.
Yeah,
All right,
he's
and I'm
he's
not saying
amazing.
this as much as I hate
Exactly,
it.
that's
Right,
why
Bernie
we
Sanders
should
has always
love
been
him.
consistent.
Okay,
He's
great.
a national
So-
treasure.
So age does
Okay,
not
so you would.
necessarily.
So we should
Listen,
vote for
listen.
him, right?
Okay, I'm gonna say something.
No, hold on, Jane, hold on. Is your problem with the age or his consistency? Because it shouldn't matter that he's been consistent, right?
Okay, so Biden and Trump are good presidents.
You're gonna ask a question instead of answer it?
Answer the question.
No, okay. My problem is consistency. Sure, Biden and Trump fucking are ass, and then like half the fucking politicians we have in Congress and the Senate are shit.
Yeah, okay, so but that has nothing to do with
It's partisan politics thing, you know, and it's like, oh, let's own the right or let's own the left, so we vote for fucking morons, and we accept it.
Wait. To be fair, nobody
You
on the
can
left
get mad
voted
at
for
me,
Biden.
like
to
it's
own
fine, but
anyone
I'm
on the
saying like
right.
what I'm saying is not true. And any other day,
You're the only one who's upset.
people, any other day of the week, if it wasn't a right wing person saying it, you'd be like, fuck all these old people. Because
Wait. Can I
It
just
was
point
fairly
out
gut-wrenching
that
voting for Biden, I have to admit.
Why is everybody picking on me?
that
Just
every
because I'm
time
a
someone
righty?
disagrees with you, you
I
try and
can't
make this
agree
the
with
right
you
versus
because of
left
your
issue.
politics.
Every time someone disagrees with you, it's like, oh, you should disagree with me because I'm
Vivian,
right.
you don't even know how to like what cookies are called. You call them biscuits. So just shut the fuck up. You're like irrelevant here.
Listen, I'll say it. You think a scone is a biscuit? You have no fucking
England is like
respect on
the
the British
worst food.
culture.
Unlike the scale of shit food, England is like down here.
Actively dismantling
It's not disgusting. It's not.
Is this where we just all talk at the same time?
It never goes off. That's
And
not
all of these problems that we're arguing are caused by the UK, like Israel and Palestine. So moving on.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
So, but demonstrably, right? Demonstrably, what you said isn't the case, right? Like there are some pretty significant political differences between me and other people on this panel, and I agree with them regularly. Fucking Janie is a shit lib, okay? She's fucking dumb and she needs to understand politics more. All right?
Okay, fuck
like
you.
fucking me and
I'm
Vaush
a
have had
fucking
political
lib, yeah,
disagreements
sue me.
before,
God, I
right?
want to suck them, but according to everybody else, I'm a
Look,
lib.
it's
so-
fine. Look, don't take it personally. Everybody else is a shit lib too. Okay. Look,
It's
fucking
okay.
me and Vaush have had political
Wow.
disagreements.
Yeah, I'm a
Fucking me
but
and
we've agreed
Prime
on
have had.
stuff.
I've never
Oh,
called you a
Jesus.
fascist.
We'll get
but,
along
but
perfectly.
the reason people are disagreeing with you is because you're fucking wrong and dumb. Okay. Like this isn't partisanship. Not like you. Who is just constantly fucking trying to bring up,
disagree
like,
with
why don't you agree
specifically?
with the Democrats?
What is wrong and dumb that I said specifically, Vivian, or were you not listening?
Did you vote for Bernie?
Senators get
Specifically.
elected? How senators get
Specifically.
elected?
How did
senators
who?
get elected? How senators get elected?
Okay, so the thing that I admitted that I was wrong about, like fucking 2 hours ago, Prime,
you
that's what
asked
you're
one.
going with? Okay.
You not ask me. You don't
Anything
ask
else?
us. Ask us what you got
Is
wrong.
that it? Is that
Hold
it?
on.
Like, that was the only thing that I said that was dumb and stupid?
Hold on, and then
Was the
and
thing
then
I
asked
said
for a
was
singular
stupid?
example.
then you talked
And now
about
you wanna contest
70-year-olds, and then you talk about 70-years being
Yeah, they shouldn't. I think we should vote for people that
and
fucking
then you
live.
immediately changed your mind as soon as you got called out on it, right? To like, oh
Prime.
no, actually the problem is consistency.
If you have to live in the look, if you're 70-something years old, you don't have a lot of life to live, so your policy doesn't really affect
Okay,
the
but
rest
you
of
only
your
have
life.
to be in office
because
for like
everyone else-
Okay, that's stupid. I disagree with
Also,
that.
Jewish
That's
grandpas
stupid.
all
Can
live to
I
110.
say something though?
Jesus
I
Christ,
just
you
want to
guys
say,
are
I think
fucking
it does
arguing
generally.
anything based on labels.
Okay,
all right,
you
guys.
guys,
It
the
generally
only
makes
person bringing
sense.
up labels is you, dude. The only person bringing up labels is
That's
you.
what you're doing. You will argue anything. Like if I say the sky is blue because I'm right wing, you'll be like,
Oh
oh,
my
no.
God, yes,
As you actively bring up labels again.
No, fucking. Do you not agree that fucking politicians in their 70s is a problem? Do you not understand that?
Demonstrating that you have no actual
Hold on. So as I understand it, the opinion expressed by the left-leaning people on this panel is maybe we should generally strive to have younger politicians, but Bernie Sanders specifically is all right. Is that hypocritical?
No, that's not what I was
That's
saying.
consistent.
No, yeah, I literally don't care how old a politician is, so long as they can do their job and they have the positions that I
Okay,
agree
but
with.
I want to say
as
something.
long as
Didn't
they're
Bernie
in
have
line
like
with what
health
people want.
issues, like during the election cycle?
Yeah,
back.
he was campaigning. He did have a
So we
heart
can't really
attack.
weaponize shit against Biden, like, and then say like medical issues against a politician, and
for
then
me,
say it's not an issue.
So for me, it's not about weaponizing. It's so one is a health concern, and that's always going to be a problem with older people. Trump, for example, is not a healthy person, but he chugged it through. You know, he made it. The goat.
No, I agree.
Powered on through. Now, maybe the stress of the presidency would have done Bernie Sanders in, even though he's alive now. I don't know, but For me, the bigger issue is representation. I want politicians to feel tapped into the world as it is now. For example, internet literacy is unironically a huge problem with a lot of people in Congress right now, because there's so much policy that gets half-assed on that stuff because they don't know. You watch these testimonials done to Congress, and they clearly have no idea what anything on the internet is.
A series of tubes.
Right, and stuff like that is.
No, it's a truck.
Stuff like that is potentially.
Are you
really
going to commit to ending Finster, Vaush? Are you going to commit to ending Finster?
I wouldn't ban. The thing is, I would not ban
You made
politicians
Finsta.
over a certain age from winning. I wouldn't ban them from running, but
No, not banning. We should make an effort to have young blood in a party to keep things fresh. It's one of the reasons I like AOC. You know, aside from like all the policy and everything else, I guess it's just kind of nice seeing like somebody who's young and energized in a party.
You want representatives to represent their constituents, and a significant amount of people's constituents happen to be 25 and under.
Aging.
They should,
Well, significant. We have an aging population in the UK. I'm pretty sure that is similar in the US. Then you've got to vote for somebody older by that.
No, I'm just saying.
The average aging.
We're talking. Jamie, we're just talking about having people who are younger in the party. Holy crap! Yeah.
So go ahead, Fresh Ink.
What I was going to say is, and actually, I was actually at the very beginning when Crutch Lord first said it, on the same side where if you're a certain age, you shouldn't be on it. But I think hearing him say the words out loud made me consider that people like Bernie Sanders are capable of enough empathy of genuinely caring about issues that would affect young people. So I think it's totally not hypocritical. I think
if we said that thing about young people, if we said it about I don't know, if the black population in the United States was declining, and I was like, we should still have some black people in office to represent their black constituents, you wouldn't be like, oh well, no, we should be voting for a white person because the black population's declining. That would be fucking stupid. Everybody needs. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Gosh, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I'm sorry.
What if we voted Biden? We automatically became.
That's 100% what I just said. You fucking dipshit.
Clip it.
So, yeah, I think that politicians in general, if they are, physically, mentally fit, that they should be allowed to do the job. Though I do agree exactly with Vaush in that we should be bringing in younger individuals. Because it seems, especially when you look at the party leadership, that it's calcified, especially on the Democratic side. It's seriously calcified, and that people refuse to step aside and let others in. And fucking boomers are going to drag us down to the fucking grave with them. But I don't want to count a person out simply because of their age and that they may not get it. In fact, they might have better motivations and policies than someone closer to my age. So I don't think it just rules them out.
Yeah, no, we should.
For the record,
much in the same way that saying that you want diversity in a workplace doesn't mean that you couldn't have white people, right? I mean, it's just a matter of trying to take it all into consideration and be holistic. Now, here's the real contentious opinion, right? Baby representatives.
Oh, 100%.
But
to be perfectly representative of the population.
To be honest, though, I think that things like term limits are really important to keep the cycle happening in Congress. Even if we don't do it in the federal level, maybe within parties, saying, hey, we kind of have this thing. You've got to rotate out your seat, because having those Washington insiders there for so long is what disconnects them from a lot of the average people. Vaush was just talking about it earlier, about how they get wrapped up with the oil industry, they get wrapped up with lobbyists, their fellow people in Congress. We should be rotating people out a little bit more frequently.
I think Vaush made a good point in that, we probably should eventually have baby representatives because we should be extending the vote to babies. And representatives should represent the voters, right?
She's not. She's not
Do you know how
actually.
fucked
kidding
we
about
are
that.
if they start voting for babies? You know how
It's
honest children are. They
No,
scare
no,
the
but
shit out of me.
I wanted to jump on that though. Like, why have the minimum age for elected representatives? That
It
like,
should just be
like,
adults.
not
Like,
gonna
why not
happen.
set it to adults?
But, well,
Isn't it like
folks,
30
it's too
something
sleepy-
in
it's
the
too sleepy
States?
time.
Have a good one.
It depends.
See you
which-
later. Thanks for
Good
being
night.
here.
Hey, thanks for agreeing with me.
Yeah, isn't the
Take
limit
it
like
easy.
30 something in the United States? Or is it 40
It's
for
35.
presidency?
It
It's
depends.
25 for the House of Representatives and 35 for the Senate.
And
Okay,
then
cool.
like 40 was it 40 for president or 45?
No, it's still
35 for president. Excuse me. All right.
I think that we should have a maximum age just across the board. I think 25 should be the minimum and 65 should be the maximum.
Why should
I
25
agree.
be the
Look, I'll be the maverick here. I agree with age limits, even if it is Bernie Sanders. I agree
Why?
with his politics.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
no,
Thank you. I
because
appreciate you.
people who are on their way out, they shouldn't have I'm sorry, they shouldn't have a say in politics. That's just my personal opinion.
Are you
If you're
fucking
about to
kidding me?
Absolutely not.
I'm not.
Absolutely not.
Look.
You're not dead.
Okay,
Jesus.
well, hey,
One of the
we
biggest
should
political
wait,
footballs
wait.
is Social Security.
Wait, we
Like,
should
it's
never-
extremely
40
important that
years.
older people still have a say.
No,
Older
we
people
should
also
never.
feel like
50
they're
years
relying
left
on a
versus
health
10, I
service.
don't care.
We
you
should
know?
never consult the people who are affected on issues like fucking palliative care or fucking pensions or like that. This is fucking dumb.
I think we should consult them, but I don't
why do you think
have
there should?
legislative power?
Also, why do you think the
that has 10
minimum
years
age
to
should
le-
be 25?
Somebody that has 10 years left to live in the U.S. should not have the same
So
voting power.
shut up,
as
Swing.
50 years.
No, that's
Okay,
completely fucking.
hold on. All right, hold on. I need to follow a single thread between people talking.
Yeah.
All right. So I do want to hear an answer to that chaotic neutral. Why does the minimum age have to be 25? We send people out to die to war, right? We think they're mature enough to pick up a gun, go across the world and murder people. So why can't at
Murder?
18,
That's what it is?
Yes,
Yeah,
murder.
pretty much.
18. Then why can't they also take office?
I'd say 25 as opposed to 18 is because I don't think that the brain is mature enough to make those decisions. Let me not say those decisions. I don't think that the brain is mature enough to actually handle complex legislation at 18. They don't, and this is just a referendum on the American education system. They're not taught proper education at 25. If you're going to be running for an office, you're either going to be highly educated or have some sort of experience beyond
Not true.
high school.
That is absolutely not true.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Lauren Boebert too.
Look. I understand there are caveats to that rule. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump are definitely caveats to that rule about not knowing anything and still getting inside of politics. I'm not disagreeing with you there.
What do you think? What do you think is a more complex decision? Like trying to deal with some legislation where you have
a legislatively complex decision.
No, wait. Let me finish the question.
Okay.
What do you think requires more complex thinking? Right, trying to draft legislation with a huge team of people around you and all your fucking colleagues helping you out, or trying to decide whether or not you should travel overseas and start shooting people. Which do you think's more?
You're not going to like the answer. I think that the legislative one is a lot more complex.
Can I say something?
Okay. Well, I mean,
following orders is not hard to do.
If we're talking about making
that's not what I said. I didn't say do you have to decide whether.
I don't think you even under. Well, okay, sorry. I think you're overestimating one of the mental work that our legislators do. Most of them don't even create legislation, right? Most of them are backbenchers and just do what they're told. So you're talking about following orders. They can actually do that within Congress, right? Like Nancy Pelosi, what should I vote for? What do you need me to do? Okay, I'm on it, right? You can do exactly that. You can look at polls and figure out, well, I guess this is my position. You can do all of that. And like looking at, complex legislation, these legislation oftentimes aren't, you'll get individuals to help you create that legislation, right? If you are even creating them, and you get people to help you understand legislation if you bother reading them, because most of them don't, right? They'll just vote for things they don't. Yeah. So okay.
So my question is: are those decisions easier at 18 or 25?
No
that would
difference.
be my question.
No difference whatsoever.
Okay.
if I could, when it comes to like age limits and all that stuff, it just seems so unnecessary. And you know, me and Jason usually are quite aligned on many of these issues, but I actually disagree with his take as well. I don't think the problem with our politics is age. I don't think the problem with our politics is necessarily the terms. I'll address age first. If we make it so that Nancy Pelosi can't run for office anymore, you know who becomes the Speaker of the House? Hakeem Jeffries, because you know who has the fucking ability to run people, even if it's younger people? The establishment does. The people that are currently buying out politicians that happen to be older will be able to buy out politicians that happen to be 40 years old, 30 years old, or even 20 whatever years old. So it really doesn't matter what the age is if the corruption is still going to be there. And I have no reason to believe that just because someone's younger means the corruption is going to go away. And that same logic applies for like the term limits.
Because it's not going to change, you just opt to do nothing.
No, absolutely
it's just
not.
if you
It just
propose
seems like
a
an
solution.
unnecessary reform that doesn't change anything.
If
That
you
just
propose a
limits
solution,
democracy.
then- If you propose a solution, then it needs to fucking solve something, doesn't it? You don't just place restrictions on people when they don't fucking do anything. And I would say, like, yeah.
And I'll say on the when it comes to the difficulty of work, bro, being a politician is not so difficult. Let's not give them like that much credit. Okay, they have a team of experts around them at all times. Sometimes they don't even have a team of experts. Sometimes they
old enough
just sit around. And
if you're old enough to vote, you should be old enough to hold office. Like you
I
are
agree.
making complicated decisions about legislation when you go to fucking vote, right?
And when it comes to term limits, there's a reason why people like Ted Cruz are comfortable with something like term limits. When Ted Cruz is just another corrupt establishment politician, there's a reason why so many Republicans are for it, and maybe I'm sure some Democrats as well. But many of these establishment folks are for it because at the end of the day, if they can't be a politician, okay, they were there for 2 terms. They get to go through the revolving door into lobbying or some form of that. They get a reward at the end. They have a thing safe. But if we did have term limits, it would prevent someone like Bernie Sanders from being elected or being able to be in the Senate in like fucking 2006. He wouldn't be able to run because of term limits. If we had age limits, it would prevent people like Bernie Sanders from being there. When Bernie Sanders is just as competent.
So
I mean,
why can't he show somebody else the way?
And Marky's a pretty good guy as well. And frankly, my big thing is just what's the point of
Your
limiting
side didn't
democracy
win.
if it has? What are you talking about?
But you see the problem? Their goal is to cling to power. The goal is to cling to power, and that's the problem.
Wait,
want to know why your side doesn't win? Because you call the military fucking murderers when they're just doing what your stupid parties
Why
want
are
them to
you
do.
citing
Right?
this? Hold on.
Crybaby victim again.
There's a reason why you're in the UK and not in the US.
I'm genuinely confused. I'm genuinely confused.
Nobody cares what you have to say. What I'm saying is, this is why you have the right-wing people in your panel and your fucking views drop from fucking 300. I'm out of here. You're fucking stupid, dude.
Grown ass adult.
Okay. All right. The penalty hack's done.
You rage quit a second time.
Get wrecked.
Did he rage quit?
He only came
Oh
back
my
for Vaush,
God.
100%.
He actually only did come back for Vaush. I believe that 100%.
He seriously double rage quit. That's amazing.
He called the
This
ambulance.
this is good because now we have a perfect square. And
Oh yeah, true.
I feel like we're in the Brady
Yeah,
Bunch.
don't let anybody else. We are just so great. We're the best of the best, obviously.
My big
Nathan go.
yeah.
Don't all
your
speak at once.
request,
Jesus.
Yeah.
My big problem with like the concept of these age limits and term limits. So the age limits are justified by saying, okay, well, a lot of them are going to be dead on the way out, and if you're under 25, your brain isn't fully developed. Okay, well, listening to fucking 30-something-year-olds, 40-something-year-olds interacting with 40-something-year-olds in like college classes, for instance, it doesn't feel like their brain's fucking developed. Okay, so age, fuck that, bro. If you're good and you can win, you are good and you can win. Okay, you should be able to run, especially when the policy is going to affect you.
Okay, but what does
these
good
things
mean though?
Okay,
But what does
okay,
good
yeah,
mean,
sure.
though? That's the
So
question.
if someone happens to be 18 years old and they are running on the policies that I agree with, I should be able to vote for them. And they have interest in running. They're gonna surround themselves with smart people and experts that'll guide them through the process. I see no reason why that person should be limited because of their age, especially when the policies directly affect them. When they're 18 years old, they're legal adults. They can go fight in the military. They can go fight in war. They could be drafted. why the fuck wouldn't they be allowed in office? And also, it just in general with age limits and term limits, my big thing is democracy shouldn't be limited when it's fucking unnecessary. What's the point? I don't care if someone's on their way out. FDR is my fucking favorite president. He did a lot of good shit. The New Deal was transformative. In my opinion, based on the shit I looked at, I think it did solve the Great Depression. Some people argue it was World War II. I disagree. He's a good president, in my opinion. And he was on his fucking way out. He died in office and was clearly fucking dying, but then he won a fourth term as he should.
Okay, let's go to you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, there's term limits and lowering the voting age and lowering the minimum age to run. All that. I mean, those are a bunch of different conversations. I tend to just think, yeah, like these minimums that we have set up are heuristics. I don't have to defend them as like objective standards. I don't think that like there's a good reason you could draw a line at 17 versus 19 versus 18 for voting, 25 versus 35 for Senate. You know, like they're heuristics. I don't feel wedded to them, but I would just like, I would want to hear a really good argument for why any minimum should be abolished, and maybe I could be convinced of that. But that's, I feel like it's a kind of I don't give a fuck kind of thing where it's just like it's just a whole rabbit trail on each of those, and they're each, I think, slightly different conversations.
Because why ought a citizen, right, somebody who's subject to the laws of the nation, be barred from public office simply because of their age? This shit's like undemocratic.
Well, you're not necessarily barred from public office. You're barred from certain public offices. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, so maybe we have a hierarchy of like, yeah, it's perfectly reasonable to say, yeah, if you're of legal voting age, you should be able to perform public service, and we want to expect somebody who is at the what? Well, I don't know what your position is, but maybe it's reasonable to. Oh, okay, yeah. So maybe it's reasonable to expect that the person who runs the whole show has some measure of experience, which age could be a heuristic of. It's obviously not always. Like Trump didn't have experience to run the country. It doesn't work well. I'm not saying it does. But yeah, so I on that point, sure, yeah, like I would say, yeah, if you're of voting age, there ought to be public service leadership options available to you. So yeah, anyways, I want to kind of skip
president.
Yeah,
like
be president. I don't know.
Because any fucking moron, right, as long as they're within the age range, can be president. If you're saying it's because of some degree of competence that people around this age are supposed to have, that's demonstrably not fucking true. And so you might as well get rid of these age limits as well.
Okay, so the separate conversation that I don't care about having right now. I think we were having an interesting conversation before this came up about what actually does it mean to represent somebody. So we have motivations for maybe wanting more younger people in elected office because we have some sort of intuition that those younger people would represent certain interests better, but we're not really like kind of digging into what representation means. I mean, as long as we're making digs about, you know, people who aren't from the U.S., right? We had a whole Revolutionary War over representation and what it entails, right? Like this is a serious issue, I think. And so can somebody who is 75, 78, 80, 90 on their way out, you know, can they represent my interests well? Well, we could argue about that. But as Viv said, right, like obviously it's important for those people anyways, we're daily making political decisions that impact people at that age. They should be represented as well. So does that representation require that somebody who is that age be in elected office? Or like, you know, yeah, I don't know. I think that's an interesting conversation to have. More interesting to me than should it be 15 or 18.
Or we could have multiple presidents for each age range, right? Like it's just like at some point, if you elect a 30-year-old, right, then you can say by that logic, well, then 70-year-olds aren't being represented. Like we failed because we don't have someone older at that point. It's like,
well, yeah, that's assuming a certain idea of what it means to represent somebody. Yeah, so
I don't think it requires somebody like that to be in office. I think we should encourage it. My main objection was to what I would say is like the undemocratic stance that like certain people can't hold public office because they aren't of a certain age, right? I think if you're part of the voting process, at least, right, if you're old enough to vote, you should be able to hold public office. And I'm totally against restrictions on democracy. You already have far too fucking many in your system anyway, right? And I want to open it up as much as possible.
I just want to say one of the big issues we have in the UK is that the vast majority of people that are involved in local politics are much older, either retirement age or just below, and therefore it becomes quite unappealing for young people to get involved.
Young people
And although you might have
young people can't do it because,
well, yeah.
I mean, maybe if you're at university and you've got a very light course or whatever, but like most working class young people, we don't get fucking paid enough. Man, if I wanted to do campaigning when I was like 16, I had 3 jobs and couldn't pay my fucking rent. Like, that's how bad that shit was.
Yeah, but like I'm okay, so I work, well, I don't get paid. I work, I don't want to say what I do. Basically, like, I am involved locally in politics, but you really don't need to do that much. Like, you can do the bare minimum and still be involved and have a say in what policies you want to push for at your party conference. You can still be involved and tell your local representative what your issues are and what you want them to campaign on in the next general election. Like, there are many ways you can get involved without taking up a significant proportion of your time. Like, you don't need a serious amount of time available. Like, I understand, if you work during the day, then it can be difficult to arrange, or if you've got like issues with childcare, you don't have time to like attend meetings. But usually a meeting is like once every month. It's not like that involved. There's no excuses to why people can't get involved. The issue is getting the word out there, I think, and signing up to join a party can be a bit more difficult, but usually there are discounts for younger members to join, and there is often a lot of campaigning you can do even outside of a party.
Frankly, I'd rather get rid of party politics altogether.
Okay, sorry. I got it. But you already beat me to it. So anyway, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate you coming through. We'll be back tomorrow.
You're
welcome. One debate with Nathan and a guy. But
a guy. Oh my god, that's amazing.
I will be debating Jackson Hinkle tomorrow. World famous Jimmy Dore orbiter.
Good
we're
luck,
gonna be
man.
talking about progressive strategy. It's gonna be a good one.
All right, so come back for that. 9 p.m. Eastern. Should be around when we start. Hit the follow button. You haven't done so yet. Hit that follow button. Make sure notifications are on. So you know I'm going live. I do it 6 nights a week. Don't you miss out. If you're just arriving here or arrived here recently, hit that follow button. If you've been enjoying this, hit that follow button right now. Or if you hated this, hit that follow button any which way, and then you can come back here and yell at us. We'd love to have you back. Hit that follow button right now. Make sure notifications are on. Exclamation point social and chat. To follow us on social media, jump into our Twitter. Twitter is where get our channel updates and whatnot. Jump into the Discord. Discord is where all our conversations are happening. This conversation is happening here. Online conversations, offline conversations about politics, and all kinds of other things happen on Discord. So jump into that Discord, be a part of the community that we're building there. And then YouTube is where you'll find the VODs. They live there, not here. So go to YouTube, subscribe, like, and comment. Okay, I'm going to send you off to our friend Fawn, who is streaming about stuff. I don't know, but she's cool. I like her. Go enjoy that. She's a nice woman. And I will see you tomorrow. We'll do more stuff. All right. Off you go.
We don't get to plug ourselves? Okay. No, I'm fucking around.
No. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah. It was a joke.
All right, guys. I'm going to do some dabs and listen to music.
It's 4:30. God damn it, is so late.
No, I'm West Coast. It's only 1:30 here.
Yeah, you fucks.
Yeah, it's 9:30, you fucking losers. We're in the future. Get with it.
Good morning. Okay.